team felt as safe at home as the Argonauts do here. There would be no better place for the Argonauts to wrap up first place. But perhaps no better team to challenge Toronto than the Calgary Stampeders, themselves thinking of finishing first. Calgary at Toronto on the road to the Grey Cup. There isn't much not to like about this meeting of East and West. They are two first-place teams who both remember the last time they met. Wally Buono's Stampeders gave the Rocket a rude welcome to Calgary. Dan Wicklam's hit put the most expensive football player on the planet out of the game. And the Stampeders put Argonaut quarterback Matt Dunnigan out of several games. All is well, though, with Calgary. They had the league's top receiver in Alan Pitts, and last week ended a mini slump. Meanwhile, Adam Rita has labored over what to do at quarterback for Toronto. Ricky Foggy re-sprained his ankle in Winnipeg. He will start today, but he may not be able to go the distance. Matt Dunnigan is still 2 weeks away from playing, and so the call went out to former Argonaut Tom Porras, fresh from the Arena Football League. To support who's ever at quarterback, Mike Pinball Clemens is in his second game back from a knee injury. Today, East and West collide to decide number one. A year ago today at Skydome, the Argonauts began work on a home win streak that is now 9 games long, and so it's that streak the Stampeders will challenge today in a game with many other elements. Welcome to Skydome. This is a potential Grey Cup preview. If the Argonauts win, they'll clinch first in the East, but the Stampeders have to win to maintain some control in that gang fight for first place in the West Division. So the checklist is long, but all of those things figure in this afternoon's game. And in the broadcast booth, here is Don Whitman with Joe Gillette.
Thank you, Scott. Hi, everybody. The Argos have some obvious concerns about their quarterbacking situation. They are uncertain as to whether Ricky Foggy will go the entire distance because of the injury suffered last week.
Well, in order for Ricky Foggy to be effective, he's got to be able to scramble. He's got to be able to have that mobility that makes him so dangerous, and he throws the long touchdown bombs. If he can't go, they're going to go to Tom Porras, and he's a guy who has the experience to get the ball to all of those skill people that the Argos have.
Porras spent this year in the Arena Football League, but he was with the Argos last year for 5 games and is totally familiar with their offense. The Calgary Stampeders are extremely pleased with the job Steve Taylor turned in last week in that win over Ottawa.
Well, Steve Taylor played really well, surprisingly threw the ball effectively. We all knew that he could run, and if Steve Taylor doesn't carry the load, they have got the services of Danny Barrett. He's back and ready to go.
Coach Wally Buono wants to get Danny Barrett into this ball game to get him ready for the playoffs and, most importantly, next week's showdown with the Edmonton Eskimos. Scott?
Don, the mayor of Hamilton charged this week the Argonauts are trying to kill the Tiger Cats. The man in charge of marketing the Argonauts, Vice President Brian Cooper, will answer the charge when he appears with us on Live at the Half. And we'll go live to Woodbine to set the stage for the Rothmans Limited International, the prestigious horse race that follows this football game. The kickoff is up next.
The Toronto Argonauts and the Calgary Stampeders. The Argonauts attempting to clinch first place in the East with a victory today. The Calgary Stampeders trying to break out of that deadlock with the Edmonton Eskimos for first place in the West. Of course, the Eskimos are in action later this afternoon against the BC Lions. Now, there are a number of possibilities that Wally Buono is certainly aware of. A loss for the Stampeders and a victory for the BC Lions over Edmonton this afternoon, and there would be a 3-way tie for first place in the West. The Toronto Argonauts saw Winnipeg move within 2 points of first place with that lopsided 68-14 triumph over the Hamilton Ticats yesterday. But a win today for the Argos would clinch first place in the East and home field advantage for the Eastern Final on November 17th. Mitchell on the opening kickoff at his own 15-yard line. What an impressive debut he had last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders. And he gives the Calgary Stampeders good field position. Alisic comes over to make the tackle, but not before Mitchell runs it back 35 yards.
That's a great return by Mitchell, the Oklahoma product. And last week we saw him, first 2 times he touched the ball, he had touchdowns. Last week we saw Steve Taylor play extremely well. A very effective throwing the football. That's the key to Steve Taylor's performance.
Steve Taylor and Mitchell were both recruited by Nebraska. Mitchell was a quarterback coming out of high school. He wound up going to Oklahoma, Taylor to Nebraska. Taylor the starting quarterback today for Calgary. Penalty flag on the very first play as Taylor throws over the head of Carl Bland. It will be a procedure call against Calgary. There appeared to be some movement at the line of scrimmage prior to the ball being snapped. Jacques DeCarry, the referee.
Procedure, Calgary 66, decline, 2nd down.
Lloyd Fairbanks, who is playing in his 255th CFL game today, guilty of the procedure call. Second only to Ron Lancaster in career games in the CFL. Lancaster with 288. Fairbanks today moving ahead of Dave Cutler.
Eric Mitchell is going to be the key to their running game, and then they'd love to get that ball out to Alan Pitts. Steve Taylor's going to have to show.
Mitchell on the screen, loses the football, and it looks as though the Argos have it. Chris Munford came up with the football. Don Wilson stripped Eric Mitchell of the ball.
Uncharacteristic of Calgary, because Calgary leads the league in takeaway giveaways. You can see it from up high. Wilson gets it loose. That's a big turnover right at midfield, and that's uncharacteristic of Calgary.
Ricky Foggy directing the attack. 1st and 10. The ball is at the 52-yard line. 3 receivers wide to the right. David Williams to the left. Foggy rolling to his right. There's the toss to the Rocket, and he is brought down after a pickup of about 5. He got to the 54 of the Calgary Stampeders, stopped by Will Johnson with help from safety Greg Peterson.
Well, maybe they're trying to tell us something. Ricky Foggy ran the option play. They want to get the ball to the Rocket. If Foggy is well enough to run the option play, his foot must be healthy and extremely able to cut upfield.
The Argos, of course, line the Rocket up in a variety of positions in an effort to get the ball to him as frequently as possible. They hit screen to Clemens, and the cornerback on the right side, Junior Thurman, read that one perfectly as he came up to make the tackle and forced the Argos to kick it away.
Well, Clements got out into the open field, but Junior Thurman is one of those cornerbacks that is an extremely good tackler. If they're going to run that play, they're going to have to go to the other side at Carl Anthony's corner.
Hank Alisic goes back to the 40-yard line for this 3rd down punt. Dave Sapunjas and Pee Wee Smith are the 2 Calgary players back waiting for this Hank Alisic kick. Excellent kick by Alisic. Smith at his own 5-yard line on the return. And he's run out of bounds as he gets up to about the 15. A 9-yard run back after a good 51-yard kick by Alisic. 12:33 is the time remaining in a still scoreless opening quarter. Eric Mitchell, who fumbled the last time the Stampeders had the ball, is not on the field for this offensive series as the result of an injury or a decision by Coach Wally Buono just to put somebody else in there. Andy McVeigh and Spallettini are the 2 backs that line up behind quarterback Steve Taylor. Spallettini the ball carrier, and he picks up about 3 yards, stopped by Leonard Johnson.
Mitchell's going back into the ball game, and I think they adjusted his rib pads. Many running backs with rib pads fumble the football, and that's why they adjusted them. Harold Hallman is their front guy. He's got to anchor down that middle position, and they've got a new guy in there that's replaced Chris Gaines and Prentice Wright, the middle linebacker, but Brazeley is going to have to do a job against Alan Pitts.
2nd and 6. Taylor stands in there, throws, and completes the pass for a 1st down to Alan Pitts. That's his 101st reception, tackled by Carl Brazeley. He leads the CFL in 3 receiving categories. Last week in that win over the Ottawa Roughriders. He broke Terry Evanson's club record.
Mitchell made a big play on that. He picked up Prentice right, and that helped get that football delivered. Even though it was a short side passing, it was the throwback to Pitts.
1st and 10, the ball at the 30-yard line. Mitchell back in there. The pass complete to Carl Bland, wide open. He takes it out of bounds at the 45 of the Argos.
Oh, that's a beautiful play by Steve Taylor. That's what you call a dash. The quarterback starts to one side, and then he does a reverse and comes back the other way, and that allows him to have the opportunity to throw the football.
Carl Bland was activated for the August 8th game against BC, initially joining Calgary on the 29th, and he has certainly made a contribution as a receiver since joining. Now, this is a loose football that Mitchell was able to pounce upon because that ball was live with Carl Brazeley coming back to pass behind quarterback Steve Taylor. So it was interpreted as a lateral, and Carl Brazeley was on Mitchell almost immediately. A big loss back to the 49-yard line.
When you throw that ball behind you as a quarterback, that's considered a lateral. That would have been a fumble. Eric Mitchell was heads up just to recover it.
2nd and 26 now for the Stampeders. They are backed up to their own 49-yard line. Derry Crawford comes wide to the right. Pass is complete to Bland, but he will be stopped 6 yards shy of a first down by Reggie Pleasant.
Well, they had so much yards to make up. It's difficult to make 20 yards on a play like that, but Bland runs a nice curl route. Watch him curl back to the inside, and then he makes a good reception. He had to go up for the ball. Taylor threw it a little bit high. Field goal attempt. So they made up some yardage, and I think Steve Taylor, well, they're having a little problem getting Taylor back in as the holder. I guess he did such a good job on the pass, didn't know he had to hold the ball.
Penalty flag as Mark McLaughlin puts it through, but I think an illegal substitution call may go against the Calgary Stampeders.
Now they'll punt the ball now.
So Taylor getting into the game late costs the Stampeders 3 points, as they are now, well, they may attempt a field goal again, although Brent Mattich comes into the ball game.
Illegal substitution, Calgary number 1, 3rd down repeated.
Now, Wally's not happy with that. He's a little upset that Steve Taylor didn't stay in. You know, they practiced so hard on special teams, and Steve got excited with that throw and came off the field to get some instructions.
Coaches never really get all that upset about errors of execution, but mental errors really bother them, and that was a mental error by Steve Taylor. Again, penalty flags on this kick. It's taken by the pinball at the 5-yard line. And he brings it back to the 36, but there were penalty flags back at the 10-yard line even before the kick was fielded by Pinball Clemens, a 31-yard run back.
Yeah, there's too many men on the field. You talk about mental errors. Now the other side of the field, the coach is going to be upset. Wow.
So the Calgary Stampeders will send out the field goal unit.
Too many men, Toronto, 3rd down repeated.
Well, Wally Buono's not upset anymore. Now Adam Reed is upset. You know, they work hard on special teams, Don. The day before the game is all special teams day. Great return by the pinball. I mean, and now it has to be called back. What's worse, Calgary has a chance for a field goal at this point.
And this time Steve Taylor is in the game in time, holding the ball at the 47-yard line for the field goal try by Mark McLaughlin. He made it the last time he attempted it. He makes it again. So the Calgary Stampeders get the 3 points they were deprived of earlier. 8:43 remains in the opening quarter. They lead 3-0. For the Calgary kickoff, the rocket is deep. Brazeley and Smith are standing at the 25-yard line. It's a diamond type of kickoff formation, trying to prevent teams from kicking the ball away from the rocket. It's taken by Braisley, and Braisley brings it back to the 32-yard line. That's where Toronto will scrimmage 1st and 10 after a 12-yard return. Scott?
Well, Don, this item could be the key to the Argonauts quarterback, Ricky Foggy, going the distance today. It's called an orthotic, custom-made, built up in the arch and taped heavily to his foot. What it does is it lessens the impact of the blows to the ankle that he's been suffering with for the last couple of weeks. He's looked pretty mobile in the first quarter, early in the first quarter, and the Argonauts feel that if he doesn't take a shot directly on the ankle, he could be able to go the distance if they need him to. Don?
They certainly hope that Foggy will be able to go the distance. So far, showing no ill effects of the injury, throwing deep, intended for the rocket. He was being covered by Carl Anthony. It will be 2nd and 10.
Carl Anthony did a nice job of not allowing him to get too far behind him. He got behind him, but Carl Anthony made up that speed, and he also pinned him away from the football, and it's any man's ball when it's up in the air.
Carl Anthony replacing Ron Hopkins on the corner. His first start was September 15th against the Toronto Argonauts. That game won by the Calgary Stampeders.
That's Bob Skemp down on the field, and Adam Reed has had a lot of trouble with his offensive line. Well, he's actually had a lot of trouble with injuries, but the offensive line has a lot of bumps and bruises, pulled groins and whatever, and Skemp is down. That means that he'll probably bring in Jim Kardash to play that guard position.
Skemp played junior football with the Richmond Raiders and at the University of British Columbia. A 6'2", 265-pound guard. He came to Toronto from Montreal in the dispersal draft.
Bob Skemp's used to having demanding coaches. His father coached him with the junior team with the Richmond Raiders. Oh, he'll be back.
So Bob Skemp goes to the bench. It's 2nd and 10 for the Argos. They are at their own 31-yard line. David Williams goes wide to the right, along with Paul Massotti. The Rocket lines up wide left. He will line up in a number of positions during the course of the afternoon. Foggy for Williams, and Anthony got across to partially deflect that football. And the Argos are 2 and out as they send out the punting unit.
Anthony played the ball perfectly. He came right over top of the receiver and acted as though he was going to catch the football. He almost did. David Williams couldn't hang on.
Pee Wee Smith and David Sapungis drop back for Hank Olisic's 3rd down punt. 7:53 is the time remaining in the opening quarter. 3-0. The Calgary Stampeders lead the Toronto Argos on a field goal by Mark McLaughlin.
Pee Wee Smith waits for it at the 30-yard line. A penalty flag on the play. And Smith is going to go all the way. Kevin Smelly in pursuit, but he can't make up that 5-yard
Deficit, and it's an 80-yard return by Pee Wee Smith. The penalty flag was back at the 32-yard line. Is the call going against Calgary? It appears as though it is.
Calgary's the top team in the league on special teams. They do a great job of it. Unfortunately, to get him loose.
No, it's a no yards call against the Toronto Argonauts. The players had started to move back to the 32-yard line where the flag had fallen, but it's a no yards call against the Argos, and right there, J.P. Escuerdo, number 15, was within that 5-yard area. But that did not bother Pee Wee Smith as he was able to go 80 yards for the touchdown.
Well, that's their trademark, and you know, Crawford was doing such a good job early in the year. Now Pee Wee Smith has picked up where he left off, but it's a team thing. All of those people were downfield blocking man-to-man. They took their people out, got a touchdown.
Mark McLaughlin adds the point after on the 80-yard punt return by Pee Wee Smith. He scored his first 2 pro touchdowns on returns in the game on September 6th against Edmonton. He's one of the outstanding special team players in the CFL. Pee Wee Smith with an 80-yard punt return for a major school.
You see it man-to-man. You see all the blockers man-to-man on their men, and that's all you have to do. If everybody gets their man out of the way, Pee Wee Smith is gone. And he gets a little dramatic there at the end as he crosses the goal line. This is a new step they've got, this long stride.
Pee Wee Smith puts the Calgary Stampeders in front by a score of 10-0, with still 7:26 remaining in the opening quarter. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers victors over the Hamilton Ticats by that lopsided 68-14 score yesterday. Undoubtedly hoping that the Calgary Stampeders can continue to pile up the points against the Argos and thus keep alive their hopes of finishing first in the Eastern Conference. Stampeders, of course, are more concerned about where they will finish in the West. They're trying to break out of that deadlock with the Edmonton Eskimos. Carl Brazeley surrounded on this kickoff return attempt. Spallettini limiting the run back to 14 yards.
Coach Guano likes Tony Spallettini as a special teams player. He also likes him as a running back because he blocks so well. A lot of starters on Calgary's team play special teams. Ricky Foggy's 1 for 3, and he hasn't shown any scrambling yet, but I'm sure we'll see it.
17 touchdown tosses this year by Ricky Foggy. 14 of his passes have been intercepted. It's 1st and 10 just outside the 30-yard line. Halfback blitz, and the pass is complete. The Rocket gets a first down, fighting his way to the 49-yard line.
It's one of those amazing plays. If it hadn't been for Alondra Johnson, this would have been a touchdown. The Rocket actually broke the tackle.
Kenton Leonard was blitzing from his halfback spot as we watched the Rocket run his pattern.
Well, Thurman missed him. But watch, 51 comes over Alondra, flies out of nowhere.
The initial first down of the game for the Argos. The pinball has the football. He reverses his field, but he's in trouble. But as they say about the pinball, he can make guys miss in a telephone booth. And he converts what should have been a loss into a gain of a couple of yards. Cofield and Laird finally bring him down.
I can't believe that he made Junior Thurman miss. Junior Thurman came up, he saw that pinball was reversing his field, and he actually just gave him a move to the outside, then broke outside, and he used the sidelines to gain about 10 more yards. What a player.
Clemens picks up 5. It's 2nd and 5 Toronto. The ball at the 53. Penalty flag. The ball pops loose, and it's intercepted by Laird. Stu Laird grabbing that football as it came out of the hand of quarterback Ricky Foggy.
Procedure, Toronto 69, decline, first down Calgary.
Calgary declining the procedure penalty against the Argos as Stu Laird was there to grab the football as Cofield hit Foggy in the process of throwing, and before the ball fell to the ground, Stu Laird scooped it up. So the Stampeders trying to take advantage of turnovers early in this football game, have it 1st and 10. The ball at the 48. Ron Wilson got in front of that throw intended for Derek Crawford. Had he been able to get 2 hands on that football, he would have been gone for a certain 6. Brian Warren was pressuring quarterback Steve Taylor.
Well, that ball going out into the wide side of the flat, that's pretty tough. Brian Warren came in. I don't think Steve could see where he was throwing.
2nd and 10. The ball at the 48 of the Toronto Argonauts. Taylor for Alan Pitts. He can't hang on.
Oh, he was wide open on the post corner cut.
The pass was there. Steve Taylor delivered it.
Reed is trying to get the pass. Look at him working on the pass protection. He's showing him the linebacker blitz coming through the outside. Hey, he'd be good on a telestrator. That guard's got to come around and pick it up. That's what he's telling me.
Mike Clemens, the lone man back for this 3rd down punt by Brent Mattich. 10-0. The Calgary Stampeders leading the Argonauts. 4:49 remaining in the opening quarter. No chance for a return as the ball bounces out of bounds at the 23-yard line. It will be 1st and 10 at that point after a 25-yard kick. And we'll be back with the Argo first down play after this message. When these teams last met September 15th in Calgary, Dan Wicklund received a spearing penalty for hitting the Rocket, putting him out of the game with a concussion. Wicklund said he wasn't concerned about any retaliatory action today on the part of the Stampeders, although he did show up yesterday at practice wearing a false nose, a mustache, and glasses, a la Groucho Marx. Now, he was listed as the starting outside linebacker, but the Calgary Stampeders have a defense that calls for 6 defensive backs, and that's what they're showing now as the Argos line up 2nd and 6. Wicklund on the sidelines watching with that extra defensive back in the person of Ken Watson in the game. Foggy's pass is complete, and the pinball will have a first down at the 36.
I think that's a key to Toronto's offense. They're going to have to be able to have some patience, get the ball off to the backs, get the ball off in front of the defense, and allow them to break some tackles.
And the pinball is hurt. He has missed a good portion of the season as the result of injury. He is down again.
They've had problems with their skilled people getting banged up, and pinball's been in and out of the lineup. Matt Dunnigan, anxious to get back, was put on the reserve list. He'll be able to come back after 2 ball games. Ken Watson, the defensive back that went into Calgary's nickel package, I guess you'd call it, or 6-pack. Ken Watson was cut from the BC Lions 2 weeks ago. I think they wish they had him when they had that long pass completed with 12 seconds to go. That was Ken Watson's position.
This afternoon, of course, the BC Lions will be in Edmonton to take on the Eskimos. As we watch the pinball grab that pass and try and pick up additional yardage, we can see the hit he takes on the knee. He reaches back for the hamstring almost immediately and is limping as he heads off to the sidelines. He indicates to Ricky Foggy that he is okay, but he isn't putting a lot of weight on the leg.
Well, he had weight on the leg when he got hit, and if the running back is planted, he's got so much torque because he makes those lateral moves. He got hit when his leg was planted.
J.P. Escuerdo goes into the ball game, replacing Pinball Clemens. And Escuerdo gets the call. He runs into one of his own blockers as he lugs the football out to the 41-yard line.
Escuerdo made Darren Hall miss, but that extra defensive back, Ken Watson, came up and helped. Clemens is smiling, so that's good news.
He established the CFL record last year for all-purpose yards. Team doctor asking him if he's okay. Pinball has to remain on the sidelines for at least 3 plays, but he might stay out longer. The toss to Escuerdo. Escuerdo will be close to the first down up at the 45-yard line, brought down by Kenton Leonard. Escuerdo played at the University of Calgary. He caught the attention of Adam Rita, the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, when Rita was at UBC.
Kenton Leonard is down. He's injured. I saw a tremendous play by Will Johnson. He took the quarterback away on the pitch, and then he ran out and nearly made the tackle on Escuerdo.
Kenton Leonard got the worst of that collision as they measured to determine whether Escuerdo got the first down. He did not. So it will be 3rd and less than a yard.
Kenton Leonard's one of the active secondary people. He's had 12 knockdowns. Shriko Zizakovic is down as well, and they need him in there because he had 5 sacks so far this year, and he's got the ability to knock the ball down. He's 6'6", and when he puts his hands up, you can't throw over him.
Zizakovic and Leonard still down. As we have a delay, let's rejoin Scotto.
Well, Don, the delay in the proceedings gives us a chance to update you on the condition of Mike Pinball Clemens. He's on his knee on the sidelines, all set to go back in as soon as he has the chance. I watched the game in Winnipeg last week, his first back from knee injury. At the end of it, he was limping, but he told me afterwards it was just a result of him having to work some scar tissue loose. In this game, he did take a pretty big hit on the knee that has bothered him, the one that kept him out of the Argonaut lineup for about 4 or 5 games. He's wearing a brace. The knee is heavily taped. The brace may have saved him from additional damage, and he expects to be back into this game shortly.
The Argos are a much more effective team with the pinball in the running back position because he poses such a threat both as a pass receiver and a runner. Kenton Leonard making his way very slowly over to the bench. You see Peterson come up. There's the hit by Leonard, and he also took a hit from Will Johnson as he came in to make the tackle.
Kenton Leonard has got to keep his head up. You can't tackle with your head down. You really get your bell rung when you do that. Now they got to come out of their six-pack. Wicklam's back in the ballgame.
Third down and less than a yard. Foggy keeps, and he picks up the first down.
So without Kenton Leonard, that may have major implications on the strategy of their defense down. They're going to have to stay with Dan Wicklam and just play their regular defensive fronts.
Wicklam out of Guelph lines up at the outside linebacker position. His career appeared to be in doubt a couple of years ago when he suffered a serious knee injury, but he was given a clean bill of health by the Stampeder medical staff. The pinball back into the lineup. Foggy throwing to the sideline, and it's knocked away by Darrell Hall.
Darrell Hall made a clean break on the football. I think he's reading Foggy's eyes. And we talked earlier about Foggy's ability to scramble. I think he's got to do that. I don't think he can just drop back with Ricky Foggy, throw the ball all day. But when he starts to run, well, that changes things for the defense.
The Rocket lines up wide left. Junior Thurman defending against him. 2nd and 10. Foggy looking for the Rocket. Junior Thurman knocks it away. Excellent job by the man who has been nicknamed the Thurminator.
Kent Warnock was in there. He did a good job of putting pressure on Foggy, and the Thurminator almost had an interception. You very rarely see someone play the Rocket man-to-man and get the break on the ball like Thurman did. That means he got confidence in his own speed. He thinks he's as fast as the Rocket. Maybe he is.
Hank Alisic stands at his own 31-yard line for this third down punt. Another fine kick by Alisic. Pee Wee Smith waits for it at the 17-yard line. Breaks one tackle. Gets away from Don Moen and then is forced out of bounds by Hank Alisic.
Blaine Schmidt made a good play on that. I mean, he's the guy that snaps the ball. That's a major job. And then he got downfield and made a big play on Pee Wee to make him reroute.
A 12-yard run back by Smith on his previous punt return. He went 80 yards for a major score. 1:07 the time remaining in the opening quarter. 10-0. The Stampeders lead the Argos.
Stampeders haven't run the football from scrimmage.
Mitchell lines up behind Steve Taylor. Taylor complete to Sean Beals. Beals unable to stay in bounds at the 39-yard line, forced out by Don Wilson. That will be very close to a first down. It is, signals referee Jacques DeCarry.
Of all the players we've seen come up, the quarterbacks, I think you've got to give Steve Taylor a lot of credit. He's really come along as a passer. I think John Huffnagel deserves some credit for developing him, believing in him when he had some bad ball games.
Sean Beals still has an opportunity to become the Stampeders' second 1,000-yard receiver this year. Alan Pitts, his teammate, leads the league in pass receiving yards. Taylor throwing to the sidelines. He was looking for Bland. He underthrew him.
They're doing a lot of things to help their protection. You notice Calgary one time will sprint out and they'll reach protect. The next time they sprint out and they turn back block. This time they used a what we call a dash. He's dropped to one side and then rolled back out to the other side.
2nd and 10. The ball is at the 39. This could be the final play of the opening quarter. The Stampeders in front of the Argonauts, 10-0. The big play, an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown by Pee Wee Smith. That ball bounced in front of the intended receiver, Derek Crawford. He held the football up, indicating that he made the catch, but he didn't fool the official over on the far side of the field. 1 second, the time remaining in this opening quarter.
Yeah, Derek Crawford had to take that. That was a ground ball, and he picked it back up and held it up in the air, but the officials were right on top of it. But a good rush by Prentice Wright on Steve Taylor. He couldn't really get set and deliver the way he wanted to.
Brent Matic stands at his own 25-yard line for this third down punt. The Rocket takes it at the 23. Now, most players on the sidelines in a situation like that would simply step out of bounds, but the pinball was looking to make additional yards. That's the final play of the quarter. We start the second quarter with the Argos scrimmaging 1st and 10. The ball is at their own 27-yard line. Kenton Leonard remains on the bench. Ken Watson has taken his spot in the Calgary secondary. Zizakovic back in for the Stampeders. The handoff goes to the Rocket, and the Rocket with some fine moves, lugging the ball up to the 39. That's a first down, brought down by Greg Peterson. Scott?
Leonard has bruised his back. They're icing it now, and he won't go back into the game until it's loosened up. Until he goes back in, the Stampeders will not be able to play any more than 5 defensive backs, and so we'll see if the Argonauts will try and go more with the pass.
1st and 10, Toronto from the 39-yard line. An audible by Foggy. He fakes, throws over the middle to Masati. First down, Toronto at the 45 of Calgary.
That bought some time. What he did, he dropped back, he pump faked, then he faked the Statue of Liberty. Then he delivered the football to Masati coming across.
A 26-yard gain on the completion to Masati, who was caught by Ken Watson. They spot the ball at the 46-yard line. Williams the target. Penalty flag called against Darrell Hall. He had his back to the football.
Now, good call. You can't play the receiver. You've got to play the ball. He was all over.
Forward pass interference. Calgary number 7. First down, Toronto.
All over David Williams on that post corner. Foggy was rushed. He delivered. That's face guarding.
1st and 10, Toronto. The Argos at the 15 of Calgary. They trail 10-0 with 13:11 remaining in the second quarter. Penalty flag as Foggy throws into the end zone for the pinball. He was being covered by Carl Anthony.
Carl Anthony seemed to read the play all the way. He nearly had the interception. Pinball still limping.
Offside Toronto is the indication from referee Jacques DeCarry.
Offside, Calgary 96, lining up offside. First down repeated.
Well, DeCarry pointed toward Toronto, but called the penalty against Calgary. So that takes the ball to the 10-yard line. It will be 1st and 5. Foggy's in trouble. Gets the pass away, incomplete. Intended for David Williams, and Junior Thurman came over to strip him of the football.
Well, there's Foggy scrambling, so he did show he has the ability to scramble, and David Williams, knowing Ricky Foggy, came back into the field of play, but Junior Thurman had something to say about it and said, no, you're not going to catch this football.
Foggy was being pressured by a man who has tremendous speed. He made his debut last week against Ottawa. That's Cofield, number 90. He was in pursuit of Ricky Foggy. And Junior Thurman came up to take the ball away from David Williams. 2nd and 5 from the 10-yard line. The reverse with the Rocket. He won't get the first down. He attracts a crowd over on the far side of the field. Among those in the stop, Darrell Hall.
Well, Mark Singer played the ball really well, and then the Rocket dipped out around him, but it took so much time that the defensive secondary was able to come up and react to it. See Singer Zizakovic being held, but Singer made him belly around. That's what made the play fail. Good job by Mark Singer.
Paul Masati will hold. Lance Chomick will try a 15-yard field goal. This isn't much more than a routine chip shot for Lance Chomick. And he puts it through. So with 11:43 remaining in the first half, the Argos are on the board but trail by 7. Well, there are more Argo fans than Calgary supporters at the Sky Dome this afternoon, but the Stampeders do have some fans providing support and enjoying what they've witnessed so far. A 10-3 Toronto lead. Pee Wee Smith, who earlier returned to punt 80 yards, is prevented from getting beyond the 21-yard line on a good tackle by Mark Bruce, a 17-yard runback. Bruce was picked up by the Argos from the Hamilton practice roster, and on special teams, he gets downfield to make the tackle on Pee Wee Smith.
J.P. Escuerdo's never far off, so he came in and made a touch tackle there. Bruce made the initial hit.
First and 10, Calgary. The Stampeders at their own 21-yard line. The fake to Mitchell. Taylor looking to throw. Over the middle, incomplete. And that's the second time that Taylor has delivered the ball to Alan Pitts, and the CFL's leading receiver has been unable to make the catch.
Yeah, that ball came back against the grain. Alan Pitts tried to get his hips turned and come back around on it. Couldn't hold on to it. 2 drops for Alan Pitts.
He leads the league in receptions with 100, yardage 1,550, and receiving touchdowns with 14. He only needs 9 yards to set a Calgary receiving record. Taylor won't get an opportunity to throw as he is buried by Leonard Johnson and Brian Warren.
Well, actually, that whole offensive line caved in, but he took too much time. You got to credit the coverage when a quarterback takes that much time to try to find somebody, and it looks like Taylor's injured. But he just got hit from all sides. Warren made the initial hit. Harold Holman came rushing in from the middle, and Mike Campbell gave some pressure from the other side.
Steve Taylor had a great Sunday a week ago, completing 18 of 25 attempts for 356 yards and 3 touchdowns in the victory over the Ottawa Rough Riders. It marked the first time in his career that he has gone the distance and led the club to a win. He made his first ever start on September 16th. Danny Barrett warms up on the sidelines.
We talked about what you have to do to protect the quarterback, and Calgary does a good job of that. When Barrett gets back into the ball game, he's going to have to use some turn back protection. He's going to have to go to the outside. You can't just drop back on a good front 4 like Toronto has.
Barrett was activated for last Sunday's game against Ottawa. He didn't play. His last active game was September 2nd against Edmonton. But on Labor Day, he suffered a broken right index finger. The 3rd time that he has been injured on Labor Day. He'll decline any opportunity to play in the future on the Labor Day weekend, I'm sure.
Reverse! Reverse!
Clemens at the 52-yard line has nowhere to go. Good downfield tackling by the Stampeders. A 45-yard kick, no chance for a return. Steve Taylor is up over at the bench, and it appears as he talks with John Huffnagel that he will be able to go back in. But with Danny Barrett warming up, the Stampeders may decide to try and get Barrett back into the lineup in the second quarter here at the Sky Dome.
Well, Foggy's coming out of the ball game. I guess there was a mix-up as to who's going to go in. Well, they don't have a quarterback.
Direct snap to the Rocket. Now that's an unusual formation. Foggy came out of the football game, and the Argos ran a new wrinkle, a direct snap to the Rocket.
Well, you've heard of the single wing. That's exactly what they had here. Ricky Foggy was lined up, and he just ran out of the ball game, and the ball was directly snapped to the Rocket, who ran in this direction. So basically what they did was a single wing. Amos Alonzo Stagg would like that.
Foggy comes back into the ball game, and on second and a yard and a half keeps for the first down.
When's the last time you saw a single wing, Don?
You're
too young. You never saw one.
I can't remember ever seeing a single wing.
Maybe I'm dating myself, huh?
But each week it seems that the Argos come up with something just a little different, and Foggy heads to the sidelines again.
Single wing. A real single wing.
Well, they want to get the ball to the Rocket as often as they can. And when they line up in that single wing formation, that's their objective. And the Rocket picks up just 2 yards before being stopped. It will be 2nd and 8 as Ricky Foggy comes back into the ball game. Adam Rita comes up with something new every week.
Well, I don't think it fools the defensive backs, because I don't think they expect the Rocket to throw. So they're coming up playing the run. It'd be interesting to see the Rocket throw one of those.
2nd down pass incomplete. It was intended for Darrell Smith. Ken Watson knocked it away. Darrell Smith last year equaled Pat Abruzzi's record of 20 touchdowns in a season established in 1956.
Darrell Smith isn't getting the ball like he did early in the year, and Ken Watson made a good play on that. He didn't respect Darrell Smith's speed. He just came up and played the football.
8:40 remaining in the half. 3rd down punt by Hank Olisic. He stands at his own 50-yard line. And this one will bounce out of bounds. They spot it at the 5-yard line. That's where Calgary will scrimmage after a 40-yard punt by Olisic. This game certainly in contrast to what we witnessed yesterday at Winnipeg Stadium as the Blue Bombers humiliated the Hamilton Ticats 68-14. Calgary this year has averaged 33.8 points per game. Toronto 36 points per game. So they've got a long way to go to get up to their seasonal average in offensive production today. Steve Taylor remains in at quarterback. 1st and 10 from the 5-yard line. Eric Mitchell, the ball carrier, picked up about 3 yards in his very first carry in the CFL last week against Ottawa. He ran 27 yards for a touchdown. His first pass reception, 75 yards for a major score.
What Calgary's trying to do is use their formations, because they know that Toronto runs a lot of read blitzes. They key blitz. So they're trying to give them different looks on the formations and then exploit the mismatch, a back on a linebacker.
Mitchell goes out. McVeigh comes in. Calgary has only run the football 2 times this afternoon. Steve Taylor checking off at the line of scrimmage. Here comes Brazeley on the halfback blitz, and Taylor had to dispose of it. Are they ruling that he threw it away? It's a safety touch if that's the case. No, they're not. They're bringing it out to the 7-yard line. The way the Argos were celebrating in the end zone, I thought they may have ruled that he deliberately threw it away. Watch from the right side, number 7, Carl Brazeley and Brian Warren coming. But quarterback Steve Taylor was right at the goal line when he released that football.
Leonard Johnson did a good job from the other side, so they got blitzed from both sides.
Penalty flag as Matic was decked in the end zone. Will it be roughing the kicker or contacting the kicker? A 39-yard punt. Matic is still down and holding his right leg. It appears as though the call will go against Bruce Elliott, who made contact with the kicker.
Yeah, that won't be contacting the kicker. That'll be roughing the kicker. He ran right through him.
Contacting the kicker. Toronto 35, first down.
It's a first down at the 18-yard line.
He did call contacting the kicker. That's why I'll never be a referee, I guess. He contacted him all right. Watch this. There's the contact. That's roughing right there. Wow. You know, that's the most vulnerable position except for a quarterback. When you kick or throw the football right after you do it, you're wide open to injury.
And, of course, all your weight is on one leg after kicking that football.
You can't avoid anybody. That's the problem. You got to take it. And Brett Matich, the Bulldog, took it on that one.
And the Argos, in their eagerness to try and block the Matich kick, wind up with a penalty and give Calgary a first down at the 18-yard line.
Wally Buono will be able to sympathize with him because Wally's taken a few of those hits as a punter in his day.
Gary Crawford comes wide left, lined up against Reggie Pleasant. Steve Taylor rolls the other way from pressure. Brian Warren moves in to make the tackle. He may have lost a yard or so. Now there's pushing and shoving going on after the play, and the officials quickly step between those who are doing most of the pushing.
He got a lot of pressure, and then he tried to fish hook and come back out the other way. When he got the pressure, he went back this way, and look what happened. Everybody reacted to him.
Back to the live action. Taylor's pass is complete, but nowhere near a first down.
Just great reaction by the defense. Ed Berry right up on it. So a lot of pressure being put on Calgary in their own area of the field. Looks like the Argos got fired up on that roughing call.
Don Wilson bringing down Sean Beals as soon as he caught the throw from quarterback Steve Taylor. Mark McLaughlin now in to handle the punting chores for the Stampeders with Matich injured. And McLaughlin's punt is a short one, but it takes a good bounce for the Stampeders and goes out of bounds up at the 52-yard line. 5:43 is the time remaining in the first half. Calgary clinging to a 7-point lead. Ricky Foggy at quarterback, 1st and 10. The ball is at the Calgary 52-yard line. Darrell K. Smith loses the football. There's a penalty flag. The ball picked up by Alondra Johnson. He takes it all the way to the end zone. There was a penalty flag at the line of scrimmage. We'll wait for the signal.
Holding, Toronto 64, decline, touchdown stands.
Alondra Johnson picking up that fumble and going all the way for the major score.
Well, it was a good pass right to Darrell K. Smith. He got the ball, but he got hit immediately as he caught the football. And when's the last time you saw a linebacker cover 50 yards that fast? I mean, this is unbelievable to see Alondra pick that ball up. Ken Watson, cut from BC Lions, caused that fumble, but AJ, he now has 8 turnovers. He's got 4 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries, but that one's for the big touchdown, and he can move.
Alondra Johnson also made a big play last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders when Ottawa appeared to be moving in for the tying touchdown. He came up with a key 4th quarter interception. McLaughlin adds the point after, and the Stampeders have stretched their lead to 17-3. Alondra Johnson with a fumble return for a touchdown. 53-yard run for the Calgary linebacker. Earlier, an 80-yard touchdown run on a punt by Pee Wee Smith. There you see the holding at the line of scrimmage. That resulted in the flag, but as Ken Watson hit Darrell Smith, the ball came loose, And an alert Alondra Johnson took it on the bounce and went 53 yards for the major score.
You know, I signed Alondra Johnson a couple years ago after watching film of West Texas State. Hey, even I can tell that's a football player. That guy can run and hit. Right. AJ, his friends call him. His opponents call him fast.
He certainly flew once he grabbed the football.
He's one of those guys that's always around the football.
Bill Henry is the injured Stampeder. It appeared as though Henry may have been shaken up on the convert. He has started all 15 games this season for Calgary. Calgary being his third CFL team. Previously played with Saskatchewan and Hamilton. On the sidelines, let's join Scott Oak.
Don, Argonauts Vice President Brian Cooper will join us on Live at the Half to discuss marketing his team. It's not as easy as the talent on the Argonauts would make it appear. And we'll check in with our crew at Woodbine for a preview of the Rothmans International. The telecast of that prestigious horse race follows this football game. There's an Argonaut influence in the race in the form of Bo Sultan, a horse owned by Argonaut owners Bruce McNall and Wayne Gretzky. Bo Sultan is second favorite. First choice is Samsung Farms Sky Classic. That's the Rothmans Limited International, and we'll preview it on Live at the Half.
Sky Classic is the favored half of the Samsung Farm entry. He has been unbelievable in workouts leading up to the Rothman International and should go postward as an overwhelming favorite.
That's Calgary's trademark. That turnover, the takeaway, giveaway. They're number one in the league. That's plus 20 now. They've had 20 more turnovers than they've given up.
The Rocket on the return to the midfield strike. Brought down by Junior Thurman, a 33-yard run back. He spun away from a couple of would-be tacklers.
Oh, he knows how to run that football. And what he does with his speed is incredible, but also what he does when he gets into traffic. He'll break tackles. I mean, he'll spin and glide and move around. If somebody makes contact, that's okay. I'll spin out of it. Look at him go.
He takes the ball to the midfield stripe, 1st and 10. Foggy was looking for Darrell K. Smith. Carl Anthony was there to knock it down. It will be 2nd and 10.
Mark Singer made us, I think he got the first tip on it, then Carl Anthony came across. Number 44, Mark Singer, dropped back into his zone coverage. He got a piece of it. That helped Carl Anthony.
That Rothmans Limited International with a field of 11 will follow our telecast today. Williams to the right. The Rocket lines up wide left. 2nd and 10 from midfield. Foggy in trouble, manages to get it away. This will be intercepted. Safety Greg Peterson picks it up. And Peterson is caught by Paul Mazzotti as he brings it back to the 47-yard line.
What's worse is Ricky Foggy is down, and he was swarmed under, had a lot of pressure on him. But Peterson, we picked him at the top of the half. We said that he would be one of the keys, and he knows that Darrell K. Smith's a key to the Ottawa offense. Peterson's playing over in that direction, and he gets the pick.
Greg Peterson with the interception, taking it back to the 47-yard line. 1st and 10. Will Johnson pressuring quarterback Ricky Foggy. Mark Singer was also there. Danny Barrett now in at quarterback. His pass to the far side of the field, intended for Sean Beals, incomplete.
Yeah, Danny put too much on that ball. He's trying to show that his finger's okay. It was. He threw it too far. Well, Foggy looks all right.
39.
Foggy has had problems this afternoon trying to figure out that Calgary defense that has played very well. 2nd and 10. Danny Barrett into the ball game, replacing starter Steve Taylor. 3:55 remaining in this second quarter. Barrett's in trouble, and Barrett goes down. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Leonard Johnson made the tackle on Danny Barrett.
Well, it's not all good news.
Holding, Calgary 21, decline, third down.
With the sack, the holding call against Eric Mitchell is declined by Toronto. And Brent Mattich, who was shaken up when he was contacted in the end zone earlier, returns to handle the punting chores for Calgary.
Calgary's last in the CFL in giving up sacks. That's about 64.
The punt is blocked. The ball is loose. Dave Van Bellingham takes it into the end zone. Van Bellingham also blocked it. Now at the line of scrimmage just prior to that ball being snapped, Darcy Klopp was trying to signal to punter Brent Mattich. And he may have been signaling that they were a player short. They may have only had 11 out there, and he may have wanted him to take a delay of game penalty. Van Bellingham came through to block the punt and to recover in the end zone for the major score.
What they had to do, they had to block this. Toronto would like to get the overload to the wide side of the field, knowing that they've got their injured punter. They only had 11 people on the field. They should have taken a delay of game so that they could have come out, had more protection. And Bellingham really came through there, but they had an overload, and Van Bellingham was off on the short side of the corner. At the top of your screen, there's nobody left to block him.
I think they may have been 2 men short.
Well, they had the 2 wideouts, and then they had, now they have 11. 1 man short.
And that's what Darcy Klopp was attempting to signal to punter Brent Mattich. But the message did not get through. And Van Bellingham did. He blocked it, picked up the ball, and ran it into the end zone.
Don't have enough guys to block him, and guess what happens? That's tough. You know, a punter is injured the play before that. Now they really put the pressure on him. I thought they were going to go after McLaughlin when he had the last punt. He didn't get a very good punt off. Mattich is back in there.
Wally Buono wants to know what went wrong. How come they didn't have enough people out there for that third down punt? That's twice now the Stampeders have had problems on those special teams when they've been kicking the ball. Pee Wee Smith on the return. Hank Olisic makes the tackle at the 40. There are penalty flags back at the 30-yard line. 3:27 is the time remaining in the half. A 33-yard run back by Pee Wee Smith. 17-10, the Stampeders lead, and the Stampeders are guilty of holding.
I guess all the excitement's on special teams today. It seems that they run a few plays and then have some fun on special teams.
The holding call against David Sapunjas, a key member of Calgary's special teams play. 17-10 the score. Danny Barrett remains at quarterback, taking over from starter Steve Taylor on the last series. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. The toss to Mitchell. And Mitchell will be close to a first down. As a matter of fact, he should have it at the 31.
That's a fine bit of ball carrying. He made the dip to the inside and then dipped back out to the outside, and he did a really good, effective job of running, and we'll be right back.
The Stampeders in front by 7 with 3 minutes remaining in the half. They have it 1st and 10 at their own 32-yard line. Danny Barrett, who has been out of action since Labor Day, directing the attack, 1st and 10. Alan Pitts in motion across the formation. Barrett goes the other way to Carl Bland. He's stopped by Reggie Pleasant after a gain of 5 yards.
You can see Danny Barrett getting a little more confidence in that finger. It's the knuckle on his index finger, and that's really important in throwing because you have to turn that down, and that's the last thing that touches the ball if you're throwing properly.
Barrett has a great TD to interception ratio. 15 touchdown tosses, just 4 interceptions. Carl Bland on the receiving end again. Brought down by Reggie Pleasant, but not before he picked up a first down.
That's a quick 3-step drop. Just deliver the ball, and Carl Bland has the ability, if he breaks a tackle, to go all the way.
The Stampeders last year were humiliated in their lone appearance at the Sky Dome on September 20th, losing 70-18. But they regrouped when they returned to Calgary and wound up with a first-place finish. They'd like to repeat that performance this year, finishing in first place. Sean Beals makes the catch, close to another first down, depending upon the spot. He caught the ball in front of Don Wilson.
You can see Danny Barrett getting more and more confidence in his ability to throw. Once you get into a ball game, things are much faster. It's speeded up. You forget about those little bumps and bruises and separated knuckles.
Sideline pass complete to Sean Beals. He takes it down to the 18-yard line, stopped by Darrell Ford.
Well, what a move he put on. That Sean Beals takes the ball, he makes him miss, and then what he did to Ed Berry is criminal. He sold him on something. He sold him on the inside, and then he went outside. Ed Berry just is grabbing air. Watch him come back over. There's Ed Berry coming into the picture, and he's all the way out around him.
Sean Beals extends his consecutive pass receiving streak to 15 games. First and 10. Danny Barrett is under pressure. Manages to throw into the end zone, and he misses Alan Pitts. There's a penalty flag on the play.
I think it's against Don Moan, hitting Barrett out of bounds. Knocked him into the pom-poms.
It comes with 1:26 remaining in the first half. It's going against the Argos.
Roughing the passer, Toronto 36, first down.
So the penalty against Don Moan takes the ball to the 9-yard line. First and goal for the Argos. Barrett threw the ball, Moan with the late hit, and that results in the penalty flag.
He knocked him right into the cheerleader pom-poms.
First and goal. Calgary with a good drive under the direction of Danny Barrett, looking to put it in the end zone. Barrett throws over the head of Sean Beals. It will be second and goal from the 9.
Well, that showed that they hadn't practiced a while. Beals ran one route and Barrett threw another route, so Danny's a little upset about that. But hey, if you don't practice, sometimes those things happen.
The Argos making an adjustment defensively.
Impressive drive up to this point that Calgary's put on, and Danny Barrett's been picking them apart.
Costello and Thomas come in. Munford and Wright go out. Second and goal from the 9. Barrett's pass is complete. Alan Pitts won't get to the end zone. He is stopped by Carl Brazeley at the 4.
Interesting call, because it was a blitz. It was the safety blitz, and usually on the blitz, Pitts will break to the outside. He didn't break to the outside.
The Stampeders were claiming that the tackle was made via the face mask, and I'm not so sure that they're wrong.
Yeah, Pitts usually breaks outside when he reads blitz, but Danny Barrett threw that inseam. And when Pitts saw the ball coming, he's going to try to duck under him, but hey, you can't grab the handle. Hey, they're right. I mean, he grabbed that. Carl pulled him right down.
Brazeley definitely had hold of the face mask. Pitts was stopped at the 4. McLaughlin comes in for the field goal attempt, and he puts it through, increasing the lead to 10 points with 57 seconds remaining in the first half. But the Calgary Stampeders had a valid complaint when they suggested that Alan Pitts was hauled down by the face mask. The replay definitely showed that Brazeley had hold of the face mask of Alan Pitts.
Well, you notice Wally, he doesn't dwell on those kinds of things. He got a bad call on that, he's going to take it and come back. He's played in this league, coached in this league. He knows what it's like. Now, he might talk to the officials, but he won't let the players know that he's upset about that. Come back and play football. Yeah, I know he's going to talk to the official.
Wally Buono in his sophomore season at the helm of the Stampeders, a 21-11-1 coaching record.
You know who taught him to smile when you talk to officials? I did. Never look angry when you talk to an official. That just means you'll get another flag.
Well, Wally played for you when you were in Montreal. Last year, he became the 20th head coach in Calgary Stampeder history, and he guided the team to a first-place finish. He's looking to repeat this year. McLaughlin's kickoff goes to the pinball at the 12-yard line. They run a reverse with Carl Brazeley. Brazeley got away from Hall. Hall gets back into the play, and along with Junior Thurman, has a hand in the tackle.
You got to question a reverse when a guy like Pinball or Rocket gets the ball and hands off to Brazeley. Brazeley's an old man. You got to get Brazeley giving the ball to the Pinball or to the Rocket. They're running it the wrong way. Reverse the other way.
A 25-yard return for Carl Brazeley.
Good job by the old guy. But I don't know if he'll go all the way.
First and 10, Toronto. The ball is at the 38-yard line. Three receivers line up wide left. Fake inside. Screen to Kevin Smelly. He cuts back inside and picks up a first down to the 52. Dan Wicklund made the tackle.
That's an excellent play. What it is, it's a counter play. And then when they come back off the counter fake, Foggy makes it look like he's going to run a bootleg. He gets the defense chasing him, and he runs a screen to the fullback.
The Argos have a 9-game home winning streak on the line this afternoon. The last team to beat them was Winnipeg in October of last year. Pinball taking the pass to the 50-yard line. A gain of 9, stopped by Carl Anthony.
Warnock was right in on Foggy, and Foggy did a good job delivering the football. He was rushed by a big man. Watch Warnock. That's a beautiful pass to Clements. He likes to keep the ball down low where you can run with it after you catch it. You don't have to extend to grab it and get out of position.
21 seconds remaining in the half. The clock running. Handoff to Smelly to the 42-yard line. First down, Toronto, with only 9 seconds remaining in the half.
Well, now they got to think field goal or touchdown.
Toronto has called a timeout with 9 seconds left. A possibility of 2 plays.
2 quick plays they could get off, and if they're thinking field goal, I think a draw play would really shake them up. But you know, Adam Rita, he doesn't go very conservative at times like this. He'll probably have one of the tricks pulled out of his pocket. I don't think he'll use the single wing, though.
Number 11 standing there, eavesdropping on the conversation, is Tom Porras, who was picked up this week. He returns to the Argonauts after a season with the Arena Football League's Albany Firebirds. Porras with 6 years of CFL experience, including time with the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, he's an experienced guy. He's had 40 touchdowns in the CFL. That's pretty good.
The clock will not start until the ball is snapped. Kevin Smelly gets the call and is stopped at the 36-yard line with 5 seconds remaining. So the Argos obviously were simply trying to get the ball a little closer to the goal line for Lance Chomick to attempt a field goal.
Why didn't you say that that was a conservative call? I'm wrong again. Well, Adams changed his philosophy here, but there's still another half to go. Maybe he wants to get 3 for sure.
Actually, I was a little surprised that the Argonauts went with that type of call, and now the Calgary Stampeders have called a timeout to give Lance Chomick a little more time to think about this field goal attempt. A field goal try of 43 yards.
You don't want to give Lance Chomick too much time to think about it. He's hitting at about 84%, and his longest this year is 53 yards, so it's well within his range. And he doesn't look, he's not worried. He's telling him, just make sure you block, I'll get it through.
Lance Chomick had an opportunity to win the football game last week in Winnipeg, but a bad snap resulted in Paul Massotti sprinting around, kicking it into the end zone, and that looked as though it might be the tying point until Matt Pierce dove out to about the 4-yard line to preserve Winnipeg's 1-point win. Chomick with the field goal attempt, And on the final play of the half, it is good. No, that is not the final play. 1 second still remains. So it's 2013, and 1 second still shows on the scoreboard clock.
Now, will they go for a kickoff return? Looks like they're going from scrimmage, and they might take a knee.
Chomik's 43-yard field goal is good. 2013 is the score. There were 5 seconds showing on the clock when the Argos lined up in field goal formation, and it required only 4 to produce the field goal. And with 1 second remaining, the Calgary Stampeders quite content to take that final second off the clock and head to the dressing room, leading by 7. Stay tuned for Live at the Half.
Calgary leads by 7 in this meeting of 2 first-place teams. Welcome to Live at the Half from Skydome. Well, the long-standing Argonaut-Tiger Cat rivalry may have reached a new high or a new low this week, whichever you prefer, when Hamilton Mayor Bob Morrow charged the Argonauts are trying to kill the Tiger Cats, that by advertising in the city of Hamilton. The man charged with marketing the Argonauts is Executive Vice President Brian Cooper. Now, Brian, the mayor's charge may be a bit extreme, but the Tiger Cats are on their knees in their hometown. What about the propriety of selling tickets in Hamilton?
Well, you know, we try to sell tickets anywhere in southern Ontario, Scott. Like any other business, we're trying to increase our base, but we've never overtly gone into the market and attempted to sell tickets. I think we're one of the flagship teams in the league, and a lot of people, like in baseball, would follow the Yankees, certainly want to follow the Argonauts, and we're happy to have any fans.
Let's talk about marketing the Argonauts in general and how things have gone this season. You began with a crowd in excess of 40,000. You had the Blues Brothers here, but you haven't broken 40 since. In fact, crowds have declined. What are the problems, Brian?
Well, I really don't think it's a problem. I think that we've had 5 or 6 years where the team hasn't been marketed, and now to turn it around in one season will not happen. We're in this for the long game. We think that we've built up our fan support. We went from 21,000 to 36,000 on an average basis. We've felt that we provided entertaining football. We think it's just going to take a while to bring the fans back and realize, Scott, this is probably one of the toughest entertainment markets in North America. We have the Blue Jays who did a great job this season, and it's tough to break the habit of not buying tickets into one of buying tickets for the Argonauts, and we believe we're doing a good job in turning it around.
John Candy likely has done about $2 million worth of work on his own, and of course he, Bruce McNall, and Wayne Gretzky have authorized you to spend lots of money, but still the fans aren't exactly beating down the doors to get Argonaut tickets. Are you left shaking your head on some days?
On some days, I'm certainly wondering why we haven't had the crowds that we expected. I think that you're right. Mr. McNall and the other owners have said, let's go out and spend to build. Again, I think it's a long-term process. Right now, we're leading the league in spending, but I also believe we're leading it in attendance. And I think you'll see next year and the year after that, we'll be back to the pride and glory that the Argonauts were used to in the yesteryears.
So the point you've made several times thereover in this interview is that you're in it for the long run.
There's no doubt about that, Scott.
All right, Brian Cooper, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Scott. And can I say hi to the Cooper family?
Only athletes get away with that, not vice presidents, but not to worry. Thank you, Brian. Stay with us, everybody. When Live at the Half returns, we'll go live to Woodbine to set the stage for the Rothmans Limited International. In this building, the Argonauts are unbeaten in an entire year, but they trail the Calgary Stampeders after 30 minutes. They have some work to do to push this streak to 10 games. Welcome back to Skydome. Later this afternoon at Woodbine, a world-class field of thoroughbreds will contest the Rothmans Limited International, and our telecast of that prestigious horse race follows this football game. But right now, Brian Williams is standing by at Woodbine to set the stage for us. And Brian, as owners of a football team, Bruce McNall and Wayne Gretzky haven't fared too well to this point in the afternoon. How might they do in the business of horse racing today?
Well, Scott, they might do very well. They're hoping for better luck in the second half of the exactor. They have a French race horse they own by the name of Beau Sultan. that is the number 3 choice for the 1991 Rothmans International. A busy day here at Woodbine. People just leaving the walking ring. They're going out front. The A.P. Taylor Stakes about to be run. But it's the Rothmans that's our focus here today. It's a race with a tremendous history. It was here in 1973. The great Secretariat ended his career. It's a mile and a half. It's on the turf. It's an 11-horse field, 3-year-olds and up. And for more on the field, let's go out to the front of the main grandstand. Here are Ron McLean and Jim Bennett.
Brian, you're right. This is a wonderful day, the 54th running of this prestigious event, and $1 million purse on the line. And the difficult aspect with an 11-horse field going a mile and a half on this Marshall turf course, as an odds maker, Jim, for you, is to try and get a frame of reference with tremendous jockeys and great horses from all corners of the globe.
Well, first of all, it's a lot of fun to do it, but I should mention that foreign form is somewhat obscure for us to deal with here in North America. The one thing we do know is that it's better than North American form, and horses coming from Europe do tend to have an edge. However, that said, we've made Sky Classic the favorite, a home horse. Sky Classic at 5-2 for Samson Farm. That's a $7 payoff. He's got a buddy with him there today, Todd of Rum. Another entry from good sources. Panoramic and George Augustus, they've made a transatlantic flight for this, 7-2. Gretzky's Bo Sultan there at 4-1. His Vestia, we're always used to making him low odds. Here he is at 5-1, looking to get back in the winner's circle. Some of the other ones now, Splash of Color, coming off a very nice win in Europe. 49er Days from California, and 3 more from Canada, all at long odds, with January Man at 50-1.
And Jim, Canada's part of the story. Sky Classic looking to become the first Canadian bred to win this event since 1967.
I think we have a great shot. When he ran in this race last year, Sky Classic, he was second to French Glory, a very tough import, and Sky Classic wasn't quite ready for the race. This season, Jim Day has had every opportunity to train him specifically to be ready for this one race.
And you know his Vestia would love nothing more than to try and prove something against Sky Classic here this afternoon. Brian?
So hopefully the 24-year drought for a Canadian-bred horse will end. The last to win again was He's a Smoothie back in 1967. Scott Oak, it is Sky Classic, the favorite here this afternoon. I'm not sure if the roof's closed down there, Scott, but we could use a roof here. It's sunny, but let me tell you, it's very, very cool.
All right, Brian, and the roof is closed here at Skydome today, and I want to tell you that conditions are perfect. And once again, as soon as we've wrapped up proceedings here at Skydome, we'll send you to Woodbine to see which of the field of 11 will have a $625,000 payday. And Don, the Argonauts would consider it a bit of a payday at Skydome if they could come from behind in the second half of this game.
Well, the Argos, as you mentioned, Scott, unbeaten since that October loss on October 16th to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers a year ago. Joe, in the first half, the Calgary Stampeders played very well defensively, and it's always nice when you have a linebacker with the speed of Alondra Johnson.
Well, Alondra Johnson is one of those linebackers. He hits like a boxer, and he runs like a sprinter.
And when the ball popped away from receiver Darrell Smith on the hit by Ken Watson, Johnson was there to pick it up and ramble 53 yards for the major score.
Yeah, it's just a perfect pass. They put the ball in there. Darrell K. Smith catches the football, but then he is hit by Ken Watson. The ball is fumbled, and watch A.J. Johnson pick it up on a dead run. He goes 53 yards, and he covers it in about 4.4 seconds.
And apart from Johnson performing well defensively, I think Wally Buono will be very pleased that Danny Barrett was able to get into the ball game in the second quarter and put together a good drive.
Yeah, we saw Danny Barrett. He was hitting with the ball, used that bad finger, did all the things that you want to do, and then if it wasn't for that face mask that they missed, he'd have had a touchdown.
Calgary Stampeders lead the Toronto Argonauts as we get set for the second half here at Skydome.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Sport OV, real life beer. By GMC Truck. And by 7-Up. It's cool to be clear.
They say Doug Flutie is the shoo-in for the CFL's Outstanding Player Award. Part of his outstanding credentials were established in a come-from-behind win over Saskatchewan in August. Since then, Don Matthews has assumed control of the Rough Riders. Kent Austin makes Matthews' job easier. He is Saskatchewan's answer to Flutie. Flutie and Austin go head-to-head Sunday on the CFL on CBC.
After 30 minutes of play, the Argos enjoy a slight edge statistically in most departments, but they trail by 7 points. Turnovers have been the difference. A fumble recovery that Alondra Johnson took 53 yards for a touchdown. Calgary has stuck basically with the passing attack. They've thrown it 21 times. There's been more balance in the Argo offense between their ground game and their passing game. Darrell K. Smith waits for it at the 22-yard line. He gets up to the 39, and that's where the Argos will scrimmage. 1st and 10, a 17-yard return after a 53-yard kickoff.
You know, the Argos show what kind of an athlete they've got when you put Darrell K. Smith on as a kick returner. And the Argos are 2nd in the league in giving up sacks. So that's what Ricky Foggy's got to rely on, that he's got the pass protection and he'll have time to get the ball out to his skilled people, unless they go to the single wing.
Talking to other players in the CFL, particularly those on the defensive side of the football, they said every time you play Toronto, you look at Ricky Foggy at quarterback.
$2 for lunch. And she says I can get 2 burgers and 2 fries for $2. I said 2 burgers and 2 fries for $2. And she says I just said that.
Had that same running ability that he normally has. Johnson came in and, you know, he came in and really tied him up. As he plays off of Chris Schultz, Foggy starts to run, but he has to make a cut to the outside.
Quarterback sacks. The number 1 man plays for the Toronto Argonauts. That's Harold Hallman. Hallman has a career total of 38. Laird and Will Johnson each have 35. From the shotgun formation, Calgary showing blitz. Here comes Peterson. They pick him up. Sideline pattern intended for Williams, incomplete. Carl Anthony was defending against him.
Well, that's what you usually see when it's a blitz. That was a free safety blitz. The receivers broke to the outside. Foggy tried to get it out to the sideline. The ball was too high.
The Argos have had some problems offensively in their last few games, and they are continuing this afternoon here at Skydome as Toronto attempts to clinch first place in the East. But at the moment, they trail Calgary by 7. Sapunjas, the lone man back for this 3rd down punt. Here comes the pressure up the middle, but Olisic gets the kick away, and a good boot. It bounces away from David Sapunjas and will go out of bounds at about the 18 or 19-yard line. A 53-yard kick by Hank Olisic. Danny Barrett continues as quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders, and it's not often you see a quarterback wearing a glove on his throwing hand.
Well, what they're trying to do is to keep that splint in place, and like we said, those gloves are made out of the material where you can really grip the ball, so no problem.
1st and 10 from the 19. Alan Pitts makes the reception. He's caught by Carl Brazeley. Scott?
Well, Don, I had a word with Danny Barrett as he headed onto the field, and he says the glove is to allow him a better grip on the ball because as the finger that was broken continues to heal, he's not able to grip the ball as firmly as he was prior to the injury. He admits he'd rather not be wearing the glove, and the splint is, of course, to protect the broken bone in the joint of his index finger that continues to heal. And, Joe, the palm of those gloves, tactified leather.
That's good stuff.
The pass was intended for Eric Mitchell. It was behind him. He got turned around by middle linebacker Prentice Wright. So the Stampeders are forced to send out the punting unit. And Eric Mitchell probably isn't totally familiar with the Calgary offensive scheme as he comes over to confer with John Huffnagel.
We watched Danny Barrett on film last week. Wally Buono showed us him on film. He looked like he gained confidence with every throw.
Mark McLaughlin with a 3rd down punt to pinball Clemens at the midfield stripe. This time nowhere to go for Clemens as he is surrounded by Davies and McVeigh.
He's moving that ball way too much. I'll stop it next time.
Argo co-owner John Candy watching the action this afternoon at the Skydome. Later this afternoon, Bruce McNall's horse, Beau Sultan, will be running in the Rothmans Limited International. We'll have that race for you immediately following the football game. Drop play with the pinball. He gets outside of Johnson and is stopped by Darrell Hall after a gain of about 10.
That's an excellent run by Pinball. He broke to the outside. Unfortunately, he's limping again. Play was well set up.
The Pinball was shaken up earlier in the football game, and he heads to the bench limping again.
Look at him delay, and then he sidesteps over, and he really accelerates coming outside.
J.P. Escuerdo into the ball game, replacing the Pinball. Foggy is going to draw a penalty for deliberately throwing it away in the grasp of Will Johnson. Foggy was way back at the 45-yard line, and they're going to rule that he was grounded at that spot.
Grounding the football. Toronto number 14. Second down.
On the sidelines, here's Scott Oak.
Don, somewhere in this shin they suspect is a broken bone, and that has Brent Maddich out of this game and then some for the Calgary Stampeders. When did it happen, sir?
The punt out of the end zone. It just it just rolled on it. Someone just rolled on it and tried walking back. It was a little bit painful. And next punt, I kicked it, and I just turned on it. I just turned on it and cracked.
Okay, Brent, we got to go upstairs because something big just happened on the field, I suspect, Don.
Yes, something big for the Calgary Stampeders. Carl Anthony with the interception, bringing it back to the 25-yard line. And the Calgary Stampeders defensively have looked very sharp in the game this afternoon. Carl Anthony with his third interception this season.
You want to give Carl Anthony a lot of credit and a great return on the interception, but I'll tell you who you got to give credit to. That's Will Johnson, because Foggy, he couldn't even see where he was throwing. He couldn't release the ball the way he wanted to. That thing was a wounded duck. Watch Foggy. He can't follow through. Johnson put him down. Set up the interception. Nice return by Carl Anthony.
That takes the ball to the 25-yard line. First and 10, Calgary.
You got to wonder about this Calgary Stampede, the speed of that team on returns, any kind of return, interception return, and I know we always had interception returns. Will Johnson rushing the pass will get you some interceptions, and that's part of their playbook, an interception return.
Three receivers wide to the right. First and 10 from the 25 of the Argos. Calgary leading by 7 under the direction of Danny Barrett. Barrett throwing to the sidelines. He has a man wide open, and Eric Mitchell will pick up about 7, maybe 8 yards.
Well, nobody went out on Eric Mitchell. The coverage wasn't aware that Mitchell was going out to the outside. He's all alone out there. Finally, the defense had to react over to him. The linebacker probably didn't get out there to cover him one-on-one.
Second and 2. The ball is at the 17. Spallettini, the ball carrier, gets the first down at the 12-yard line of the Argos. Munford and Ford combine on the tackle. 10:07 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, Spallettini would probably be the ideal guy. If you put Rocky Marciano in a football uniform, he'd look like Tony Spallettini, because he hammered in there, didn't have anything, then he broke off to the outside and made it on just sheer determination.
Spallettini and McVeigh are both in the game now. Mitchell goes to the sidelines. First and 10. Barrett throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Carl Bland. Made the catch in front of Ed Barry as the Calgary Stampeders increased their lead to 13 points with 9:36 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, everything worked on that play. Danny Barrett dropped back. He saw Carl Bland break on the curl pattern, and watch Danny Barrett deliver. Tactified leather glove and everything. Bland is in on a curl. Caught the football for a touchdown.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders may destroy any plans the Toronto Argonauts had of a first-place finish, at least this afternoon. The point after by Mark McLaughlin. They now lead by 14 points. Scott?
Don, I suppose you'd call this gentleman the #1 fan of the Calgary Stampeders. He certainly has more on the line than anybody else. He's Larry Rickman, who will formally take control of the football team this week. But Larry, they're already playing on your money.
Yes, there was a period of time that I had to put up some funds to carry the team through to the closing date.
And I would suspect you feel today the investment is worthwhile given the performance of your team.
These guys are phenomenal, just phenomenal, and you know, it just gets better every day.
You excited about the Stampeders assuming ownership with that great race for first out west and the prospects of this team going all the way?
Very, very much so, and I'm also thrilled with the prospects of the CFL in general. Everything's coming together. We now have eight strong teams financially, and you know, the Stamps certainly are on top.
All right, Larry, thanks for your time and good luck in ownership of the Stampeders.
Thanks, Scott.
Don?
Larry Rickman, who will officially assume ownership of the Stampeders next week. First time since 1945, their year of inception, that the Stampeders have been anything but a community-owned team. The Rocket returns at 31 yards, giving Toronto a first down at the 42-yard line. Carl Anthony made the tackle. Carl Bland was on the receiving end of the touchdown throw from Danny Barrett, and he made a fine catch in front of Ed Berry.
Well, you saw the turn-back protection. They're throwing everybody to the outside, but he is catching that ball on the run, so Danny Barrett's got his arm back. Look at him. He's back. Danny Barrett is back and delivering the football.
Apart from the success the Stampeders are enjoying this afternoon, Coach Wally Buono has to be extremely pleased to get his #1 quarterback, Danny Barrett, back into the lineup and get him some game action. Foggy underthrows Masadi, and the fans react.
Well, the fans ought to be out there blocking Kent Warnock, because Warnock was right in Foggy's face and knocked him down. He just drove the blocker back over top of Foggy. You can't complete many passes unless you have protection. Watch Kent Warnock. He came right over the top. You can't throw a football like that.
Kent Warnock, 6'7", 270 pounds. He was on the University of Calgary's Vanier Cup team in '83 and '85. He's nicknamed the Warrior, and he has been pressuring Foggy all day, and Warnock is there again, getting a hand on the throw by Ricky Foggy. And it's 2 and out for the Toronto Argonauts with 8:51 remaining in the third quarter.
Yeah, what's happening here is it's a halfback blitz. It's a good thing they knocked it down from the front. So I see Ken Watson come in late. He would have had Foggy had he held on to the ball.
The Stampeders up front with Cofield, Zazakovic, Warnock, and Will Johnson, getting a lot of pressure on quarterback Ricky Foggy. Pee-wee Smith draws a penalty flag as he picks up the football. Argo was inside that 5-yard area. A 40-yard kick, only an 8-yard run back. 8:33 remains in the third quarter. There are some people in this country who might suggest that's a good idea regardless of their feelings about football. But Dan Wicklum was a player that the Toronto Argonauts had been talking about since their game in Calgary on September 15th, when Wicklum drew a spearing penalty for hitting Raghib Ismail, a hit that put the Rocket out of the ball game.
What party's he with?
I think he could run as an independent and not have many problems. Barrett is pressured by Mike Campbell, and he's dropped for a loss of about 6 yards.
Well, if there's a vulnerability to Calgary's football team, it's their vulnerability to the quarterback sack. They're last in the league, and they have a propensity to let people get in on them. Moore gets beat, and Mike Campbell just comes swinging around like he's going around the maypole.
McVeigh comes into the ball game as Mitchell goes out. 2nd and 16. Barrett checking off at the line of scrimmage. He's dropped for another loss. He actually appeared to lose the football and was fortunate that it bounced right back to him.
Yeah, I think you're right, Don. Had he not had to drop that ball, he would have been able to sprint out to the left. It's turn back protection, which means everybody's blocking back to the right, and he was trying to get back over to the left. Leonard Johnson looks like he's down and injured. That turn back protection probably surprised him, but Calgary has to do that. They've got to change their protection about every other play. They can't just drop straight back.
Leonard Johnson is playing a defensive tackle spot for the Toronto Argonauts. He replaces Rodney Harding. This is the second game that Johnson has played that defensive tackle position, with Harding out of the lineup as the result of an injury.
Leonard Johnson's made some big plays in the game today. Yeah, Leonard's coming back over against the turn back, and then he made the tackle. Got help there by Darryl Ford, but it was Johnson's sack.
I talked about some of the problems the Argos have had scoring points in recent games for a team that was expected to be explosive this year. Last week, they were beaten 28-27 by Winnipeg. They beat Winnipeg 22-21 the week before, 25-24 over Ottawa on the 29th of September. They did get 47 points against Edmonton on September the 21st. Penalty flag on the play as the Rocket takes the ball to the 50-yard line. The penalty flag back at the 30-yard line. A 32-yard kick, a 7-yard return.
Yeah, you know, 20 points with the talent they've got on that team, that's not much.
A holding call against Calgary. .7:12 remaining. Calgary holding after the ball was kicked, according to Jacques DeCarry.
Yeah, they don't know whether to substitute or not. That's why he's trying to make it clear.
Holding Calgary 29, first down south.
A holding call against Paul Clatney. So Toronto will take the ball at the 52-yard line.
Had it been before the ball was kicked, then of course they were to get the 10 yards on the kicking situation. This was after, so it's Toronto's football.
Paul Clatney, another valuable member of Calgary's special teams.
Yeah, Clatney just reached out and grabbed a hold of him, and that's a no-no.
Foggy setting up the screen to the pinball. He got to the midfield stripe for a pickup of a couple of yards, stopped there by Will Johnson.
Johnson's an athlete. You know, he came rushing in on the pass, rushed the passer, came back out, reacted on the screen pass, and Cofield's out there helping him. Very mobile defensive lineman. You want linemen to be mobile, agile, and hostile. I think they've got a few of them on Calgary's front.
2nd and 7 from midfield. Darryl Smith makes the catch at the 45 for a first down. Ken Watson made the tackle.
Well, that's their bread and butter. They got to get the ball to Darryl Smith. He's the best athlete, probably man for man, pound for pound on the field. And as he comes down, he sells the deep route, turns around, catches the football for the first down.
1st and 10 at the 45-yard line. Darryl Smith was the Argos' leading receiver a year ago. This season, the Rocket is #1 among Toronto receivers. Kevin Smelly picks up about 7 yards as he goes off tackle to the 38 of the Stampeders with 5:32 remaining in the third quarter. 27-13, the Stampeders lead the Argonauts.
Well, Smelly's his own blocker. Coaches like a running back that's his own blocker. Yeah, the coaches like the officials sometimes too. You pat the official on the back, that's good. Mike Levenseller telling him, hey, don't call those holding calls against us.
The toss to the pinball. He reverses his field. Darrell Hall forcing him to the sideline. Good speed by Hall to track him down. A loss on the play. Back to the 44-yard line.
They had such success. Now Michael's down again, but they had great success on the last play, giving the ball to Smelly. So what they did is they tried to fake to Smelly, pitch to the pinball, and when everybody reacted up, he reversed his field. This is what they did. They faked in here, and then they pitched it out, but Clements had to come all the way back. That's a pitch, and watch what he does. He sees that they're coming out on him, and he just turns around, reacts back across the field. I think he's just putting too much torque on that leg. When he tries to cut, he seems to get injured.
Good pursuit, however, by Darrell Hall. He can move for a big man, 6'2", 205, tracking down the pinball and forcing the Argos into a punting situation.
I'm amazed at the speed.
Or actually, it's going to be a field goal, sorry.
The speed of Calgary is awesome. I mean, they make a mistake and they make up for it by just their defensive speed. It's the best defensive team that Calgary's put on the field.
A field goal attempt of 51 yards by Lance Chomick. It falls short. Pee-wee Smith in the end zone is going to concede the single point. So with 4:15 remaining in the third quarter, it's 27-14 Calgary in front.
The Toronto Argonauts may be getting to the stage where they'll haul Pinball Clemens out of this game and save him for another week. No specific problem. It's just that the knee that he had arthroscopic surgery on earlier this season continues to take a pounding, and it is very tender. Don?
Might be a wise move for Adam Rita to keep Pinball out of the lineup because he certainly wants him for the playoffs. He'd hate to lose the Pinball at this stage of the season after having him out of the lineup for a good portion of the year. Eric Mitchell picks up about 4 yards.
Now, you've got a guy like this in your lineup. I mean, you've got to save him for when it counts the most, and it counts the most in the playoffs. And to see him out there, I mean, he's got so much heart that he's going to run himself out of that injury, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to have him hurt it worse. And there's another guy that wants to get in the lineup is Matt Dunnigan.
Barrett passing for Bland. He could not hang on. He was wide open.
Well, that's not where Danny Barrett wants to be. Harold Hallman came right over, just bulldozed him right over top of him. And he's okay, though. He's used to that. Look at him. He's up and ready to go.
He was probably just a little slow in getting up because he couldn't believe that Carl Bland couldn't make the catch on a pass that was delivered perfectly.
This is a tough thing because watch Hallman come low on him, and quarterbacks hate that. They just hate to be hit around the knees. That's a career injury. You don't want to get hit in the knees.
Mark McLaughlin's punt will bounce out of bounds in the vicinity of the 44-yard line. A 19-yard punt by McLaughlin, and the Stampeders are having their problems with Brent Mattich out of the lineup. 3:11 is the time left in the third quarter. 27-14, the Stampeders lead the Argos.
Well, there's our prime minister throwing a pretty good block on Reggie Pleasant. Dan Wicklum, subject to some criticism going into this ball game.
First and 10 from the 44-yard line. Darrell K. Smith is open. And he stopped at the midfield stripe, but not before he picks up a first down. Dan Wicklum was there to make the tackle.
Well, you'll never shut out Darrell K. Smith. He's just too smooth an athlete. As he makes his break, he reacts to the football, drops to one knee, and then comes back across the grain. That's a good way to go when you get all that pursuit and that quickness that the Calgary defense shows.
I think I may have inadvertently suggested earlier that Darrell K. Smith was not the leading receiver this year. He and the Rocket are both over 1,000 yards, with Smith holding a slight edge in total yards. J.P. Escuerdo makes the catch for a first down, stopped by Darrell Hall.
Daryl Hall saved a touchdown. I mean, if he hadn't reached out and gotten a hold of his shoe tops, it would have been a touchdown.
If Hall did not get to him, Escuerdo had the sidelines wide open.
Yeah, Escuerdo's got that flat and up. And he just reached out, swooped around and grabbed his ankle.
1st and 10 Toronto from the Calgary 43-yard line. Fine catch by Masadi. Close to another Toronto first down.
That was a great catch by Masadi, but Alondra Johnson, he went head on into Dan Wicklum. I mean, Masadi took the ball away, and then those two players collided. They were both going after the football. I mean, they hit head on. We could hear it from up here.
And Wicklum is still down. Trainer Pat Clayton is out to tend to him. Wicklum, a starting linebacker today. One of the reasons he started at the linebacking position was the Stampeders wanted to go with 6 defensive backs. And early in the game, Wicklum came out with Ken Watson going in, but with the injury to Kenton Leonard, they had to revert to a more basic defensive set.
Well, do you know how important that is? I mean, watch the two linebackers collide. Johnson comes in and he's going for the football, but he collides with Wicklum, and Ken Watson was in on the picture too. But that trainer is important. The trainer will go out, he'll talk to you, he'll tell you what's going on. I think that's one of the things that makes those football players trust what's going to happen out on the football field. Those trainers really attend to the situation.
Well, when Wicklum hit the Rocket in the game played in Calgary on September 15th on a punt return, it earned Wicklum a spearing penalty. The Rocket was already on the ground when Wicklum hit him. General Manager Mike McCarthy of the Argos called it a cheap shot. He demanded that Wicklum be suspended. However, CFL Commissioner Don Crump absolved Wicklum of all charges that he hit Ismail with intent to injure.
I think Don Crump was right. You see those plays maybe 10 times in a game. It was a late hit, but he got penalized, and it wasn't a intentional cheap shot with the intent to maim.
First down, Toronto. The ball at the 33 of the Stampeders. 1:21 remaining in the third quarter. Foggy fakes. Throws deep for Williams. Incomplete. Greg Peterson was over to help Carl Anthony.
Carl Anthony got that ball bouncing up in the air. But we talked at the beginning how important Greg Peterson would be. And you can see the range of Greg Peterson. He covers a lot of ground after that ball hits the receivers. And I say both are receivers. He made sure Williams couldn't catch it.
Anthony has done a pretty good job on Williams this afternoon.
Oh, he shut him out.
Daryl Hall is the injured Calgary player, resulting in a delay. 1:08 is the time remaining in this third quarter. 27-14 is the score.
You know, Calgary characteristically has had those takeaway giveaways always happen on their side of the ball, and they've done such a good job on special teams. And I think the key going into the playoffs for Calgary is the players they inserted on their defense.
Daryl Hall last year was the Stampeders' Rookie of the Year. The way they're bending the toe on his foot, it appears to be a cramp more than anything else. Good size for a defensive back, 6'2", 205 pounds. He's also blessed with fine speed.
Well, they got big defensive backs. You got Junior Thurman, you got Daryl Hall. John Candy's a big defensive back. But Uncle Buck is such a great guy with the crowd, and he's been great with the CFL. Even he's met and spent so much of his own time on expansion meetings, CFL Board of Governors meetings.
Darcy Kopp comes into the ball game to replace the injured Daryl Hall, who must go out for at least 3 plays. On the second down draw attempt, Kevin Smelly stopped right at the line of scrimmage Alandra Johnson and Zizakovic. Brought down the Argo running back.
To see a defensive back over 6 foot is unusual in the CFL, and they've got 3 of them over on that corner with Thurman and Hall and Ken Watson. Those are all 6'2", 6'3" defensive backs.
Lance Chomick has been successful on 2 of 3 field goal tries from 15 and 43 yards. This will be a 41-yard effort. This one is good. The Toronto Argonauts move within 10 of the Stampeders with 29 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Toronto with a 2-point lead atop the Eastern Division standings. There are 2 remaining games in Hamilton next weekend and here at the Sky Dome against Ottawa on November 3rd. Calgary Stampeders have a crucial showdown for first place in the West next Sunday against the Edmonton Eskimos, and then Saskatchewan winds up the season in Calgary on November 3rd.
Well, that's the best hand any football player from Toronto's gotten tonight, and it's for John Candy.
One of the Argo co-owners.
The crowd's been a little bit restless. That's the only thing that perked him up, I think, is John walking by. I heard some boo birds out here today.
They were on Ricky Foggy's case earlier in the football game when Foggy had some problems moving the Argo offense. Darrell Hall was out there. Now he's heading to the sidelines, and Dan Wilkham is moving out as part of that Calgary kickoff return team.
I think John's drawn up some plays. He's going to coach him up in this quarter. I think he takes the fourth quarter every week.
Pee Wee Smith takes it at the 20-yard line. Don Wilson prevents Smith from getting to the outside. He makes the tackle at the 29-yard line, limiting the return to 7 yards.
Paulie Buono is going to tell Pee Wee Smith when they watch the films this week, go where your blockers are. There was a nice block set up inside, a nice return, and Pee Wee Smith tried to get the corner. Don Wilson said, I got you.
Barrett will be looking for a little better protection on this sequence than he had on the last series. He sends 3 receivers wide to the right. Fakes the handoff to Mitchell, throws to the right. He's got Alan Pitts wide open for a first down. Or pardon me, make that Derek Crawford.
Well, Derek Crawford's got exceptional speed, and we saw him do so much early in the season on kick returns, but he's a good receiver in his own right.
Barrett limping as he goes back to call the next play, and that was the result of a hit from Harold Hallman just as he threw the football.
A low hit again, and that's what Barrett doesn't like. No quarterback likes that.
Derek Crawford on the receiving end of that last throw, lines up this time wide to the left. The pass was over the middle, incomplete, intended for Pitts. And that's the final play of the third quarter here at the Sky Dome. The Stampeders lead by 10. Well, the statistics continue to favor the Argos, but the Stampeders have a 10-point lead. They're in front 27-17 with 15 minutes remaining in this battle between 2 first-place teams at the Sky Dome. Barrett facing 2nd and 10 to start the fourth quarter from his own 44-yard line. Crawford goes wide left. Over the middle, good catch by Sean Beals. He'll be about a yard shy of a first down as he was wrestled down by Don Wilson.
Don Wilson did a good job of keeping him from getting across that next yard marker. He knew what it took to get the first down, and he just drove him along that line of scrimmage. He wouldn't let him have that extra yard.
It's close enough for referee Jacques Decarie to request a measurement. It appears from up here as though the Stampeders are a yard short. It also appears, if that is the case, they'll go after it. They're missing their #1 punter, Brent Matich, and Mark McLaughlin has not exactly been hammering the ball, although it is more than a yard. It's decision time for Wally Buono.
Yeah, all the players are signaling way out. They got their arms way out. Usually they signal real close inside. Got the two hands real close together. This time they're telling him it's a long way to go. So Wally's going to punt the ball. McLaughlin, I should say, is going to punt the ball. Wally's going to tell him to do it. Big play by Don Wilson.
McLaughlin is the backup punter. His specialty are place kicks. The Rocket on the return. And he gets it back to the 22-yard line. Lou Cafazzo made the tackle, a return of 11 yards. Well, John Candy had been hoping that the Argos would wrap up first place in the East with a win this afternoon. Any celebrations along those lines could be delayed by the Calgary Stampeders, who have played well, and they have designs on a first place finish, of course, in the West.
Well, Foggy's lack of mobility has hurt him.
Throwing deep for Darrell K. Smith. He makes the catch. He gets away from Peterson. Touchdown.
There's a veteran. No boo birds are out now. Darrell K. Smith made one of the nicest reception and runs that we've seen this year. Ricky Foggy pump faked. That was enough to hold the defense. When he put the ball out to Darrell K. Smith, watch the pump fake, then Ricky delivered the ball, took a hit. Darrell K. Smith out. He actually had to out-jump Junior Thurman to get the football, and then he cut back against the grain, and Peterson just couldn't catch him, and he tight-roped down the sideline for the touchdown. That's an athlete.
Lance Chomick adds the point after, and the Argos are within 3 with 13:48 remaining in the fourth quarter.
This guy has excited a lot of people for a lot of years, and he did it when it counted the most. Hey, come on, let's hear it for Darrell K., he's saying. That's a clutch performance right there.
88 yards on this completion from Ricky Foggy. And that puts Darrell K. Smith over 1,100 receiving yards for the season.
Watch him straight arm now. He's, get out of here. Now he pushes him off and he tight ropes. Foggy got back up and he's happy. He's talking to his offensive line. Good protection. He lied a little bit.
So the same folks at the Sky Dome who earlier were booing Ricky Foggy when he had problems getting the ball to his receivers are up and cheering that 88-yard touchdown pass to Darrell K. Smith.
I think the pump fake helped more than anything because that got Darren Hall, it got all of them settled down, and then when Darrell K. beat Peterson, that's all it took.
Pee Wee Smith from the 15-yard line, or Mitchell, pardon me, on the return. Forced out of bounds by Don Wilson.
And that's the last thing Wally wants to do, is to give up any long touchdowns by the defense. They think anything over 20 yards is long. Wally's toweling off now. He said, that's a long touchdown. We don't want to give those up very often.
33,590 watching the action this afternoon at the Sky Dome. 13:42 the time remaining in the football game.
Calgary's defense talks about not giving up big plays, and they think 20 yards is a big play. Well, that was a big, big play.
3 receivers wide to the right. Barrett's in trouble. And the fans celebrate inspired defensive play by the Argos. They have really been putting pressure on quarterback Danny Barrett on the last 3 series.
Well, Davies is doing a pretty good job. He's getting a little help from Bill Henry. Allman doesn't get in there, but it's a coverage sack. Barrett doesn't have any place to go. You're not going to hold up forever. You only have about 3 seconds before you can throw that ball. The coverage was too good.
The fourth quarter has been Calgary's most productive this year. Barrett stepping up, throwing, intended for Crawford. He looked to the official, hoping that a flag would be thrown as he was covered by Reggie Pleasant. But there was no penalty call.
Well, it could have been a penalty. Reggie Pleasant did something that was really smart. He kept looking at the ball and kept playing through Crawford. He kept looking at the football, and the officials bought it. Look at him. He's looking through him. He's looking through him, and he's trying to play the football. The officials said, hey, you're allowed to go for the ball just like the offensive player.
This is where the Stampeders need a big punt from Mark McLaughlin. He stands at his own 21-yard line. And he delivers. Kicking it away from the Rocket. It bounces to the sidelines, and the Rocket is corralled at about the 29. A 48-yard kick, a 3-yard run back. Calgary leads by 3 with 12:19 remaining. From what you see on the screen, you wouldn't realize it, but the most productive quarter this year for Calgary has been the fourth. They have scored 149 fourth quarter points this year, and the Argos have been most vulnerable in the fourth quarter, giving up 129 points. They run the reverse with Darrell K. Smith. He steps out of bounds, and there's a late penalty flag up in the vicinity of the 43-yard line. It should be a Toronto first down.
But Darrell K. does everything.
A face mask call against Calgary will improve Toronto's field position.
Major foul, face mask, Calgary 19, first down Toronto.
You got Darrell K. on kick returns. You got Darrell K. catching the football. Now you got him running on reverses.
The face mask call against Carl Anthony, and it occurred when he was attempting to get rid of the block of Dave Williams. Movement at the line of scrimmage, a procedure call on the part of the Toronto Argos.
Procedure, Toronto 54, first down repeated.
Yeah, Blaine Schmidt was trying to come out and set up in pass protection, but you can't do it till the ball's snapped, Blaine. A little quick there, Blaine. I know why he's doing it. Kent Warnock is giving him good pressure. Adams not happy about having a 5-yard penalty in this situation. They're at midfield.
Back at the 48-yard line. It's first and 15. The Rocket was underthrown. He was being covered by Junior Thurman. It will be second and 15.
Junior Thurman and the Rocket were bumping all the way down the field. Foggy expected him to continue downfield, and he made a bend to the inside. Nobody's home.
Greg Peterson had been up at the line of scrimmage indicating blitz, and then just prior to the ball being snapped, he quickly backpedaled to his safety position. Second and 15 from the 48. Way over the head of Kevin Smelly. He was being covered by Mark Singer. It will be third and 15. 10:56 remaining here at the Sky Dome as the Stampeders cling to a 3-point lead.
You know, that's not typical Ricky Foggy. In a normal situation, he would have reversed his field, scrambled until somebody got their way open, but he can't move. You can see that he's got that brace on his foot, or arch support. He just really doesn't have the mobility that a Ricky Foggy normally has, and it's thrown his game off.
Alisic stands at his own 33-yard line to launch this third down kick. He gets away a beauty. Pee Wee Smith back to the 9-yard line. He gets a couple of blocks. He's already returned one for 80 yards. He brings it out to the 31-yard line. Keith Costello made the tackle, a 22-yard return after a fine 53-yard punt by Hank Olisic. Let's go down to Scotto.
Don, once again, we want to remind our audience that coming up following the game on Sports Weekend, the top Canadian horses, Sky Classic and 1990 Horse of the Year Bestia, face a strong international field in the Rothmans Limited International. That should go around 4 Eastern time. And coming up tonight on Sports Weekend, Ayrton Senna attempts to win his 3rd Formula One driving title in 4 years, but Nigel Mansell still has a slim chance to win his first championship. It's the Japanese Grand Prix. Check your local listings for the time in your area.
A busy sporting Sunday on CBC television. Crawford on the sidelines, out of bounds at the 46 for a Calgary first down, but a penalty flag will bring it back. The call against Calgary. Brian Warren appeared to be held by Spallettini.
Holding Calgary 27, first down repeated.
And that's confirmed by referee Jacques Decarie.
Now that's the problem with the turn back protection. Your backs have to block that rush man. And Tony Spallettini got called for holding on that play.
At the 20-yard line, it's 1st and 20 Calgary. 10-11 is the time left in the football game with the Stampeders in front, 27-24. Barrett has no choice but to try and run. He got away from the first tackle and runs for about 12 yards before being stopped at the 33-yard line. Brian Warren finally made the tackle, but Barrett did a good job of getting away from the pressure of Mike Campbell.
Well, he sure did. Danny Barrett dropped back to pass. Nobody's open. He saw Hallman coming in. He breaks loose here on Campbell. Darryl Ford missed. And now he's got a 12-yard gain that puts him in pretty good position, 2nd down and 8 instead of 2nd and 20.
Barrett again under pressure, and this time he goes down inside the 30-yard line.
I think the coaches are going to be happy when they look at these films and see Leonard Johnson's play. This guy has been getting pressure upfield on just about every passing situation. Straight drop back. Campbell's in, but Leonard Johnson straight up the middle. He's credited with the sack.
Toronto has registered 5 sacks this afternoon on Calgary quarterbacks Steve Taylor, who started the game, and Danny Barrett. They've been most effective against Barrett. McLaughlin stands at the 13-yard line for this 3rd down punt. 8:57 is the time remaining. Another good kick by McLaughlin. The pinball takes it at the 40, and he is tripped up by the first man downfield, Pee Wee Smith. A 43-yard kick and a 6-yard return.
There are a lot of things that inspire players, but really, could anything make a kick returner go farther and faster than a bowling trophy and a garish CBC shirt? It's the Return to Sender Award, and how good is Willis Jaycox of Saskatchewan? Well, he didn't even play last week, and he still has the lead. The most yardage on kickoff and punt returns. Man to watch in this game is Rocket Ismail, but he'd need an additional half a season to win this Return to Sender Award, Don.
The Rocket is out there trying to get into his pattern, but Ricky Foggy doesn't get an opportunity to throw as Calgary gets a big sack at a critical time in the football game. The Rocket this afternoon with 78 combined yards on punt and kick returns. He's had some impressive games this year. 194 yards as a receiver against Edmonton on August the 21st. In punt return yardage, his best game against Hamilton on September 2nd when he picked up 110 yards. Dave Williams underthrown. He was being covered by Carl Anthony, and the fans react to Ricky Foggy's inability to deliver the football.
Well, he can't go back in straight drop back protection. They're blitzing the backers. They're one-on-one. they're giving Foggy the pressure. He doesn't have enough room to deliver.
Steve Taylor, who started the ball game, completed 6 of 13 attempts before giving way to Danny Barrett. Dave Sapunjas, the punt returner for Calgary, stopped at the 34-yard line. A 40-yard kick, a 3-yard run back. Blaine Schmidt was the first man downfield for Calgary. Or for Toronto, I should say. Danny Barrett will continue at quarterback for Calgary. 1 touchdown throw this afternoon, as he has completed 10 of 17 attempts in his return to the Calgary lineup. He dressed last week against Ottawa but did not play. He was injured in the Labor Day game against the Edmonton Eskimos. Wally Buono wanted to get him ready for next Sunday's game in Edmonton against the Eskimos, a game that might decide first place in the West.
Adam Reed is really concerned about his pass protection, picking up the linebacker blitzes.
Screen to Mitchell. With a lot of second effort, Mitchell should have a first down as he fought his way up close to the 45. Stopped there by Chris Munford. Johnson was pressuring quarterback Barrett. He simply lobbed it over his head to Mitchell, and Mitchell fights his way out of a couple of tackles to get a first down up close to the 45-yard line.
Well, you're right when you say fight, Don, because there wasn't hardly any blockers in front of him, and he just got out and around him, and he was his own blocker, so we'll be back soon.
Leonard Johnson, already credited with 2 quarterback sacks, shaken up on that fine run by Eric Mitchell. He comes out of the ball game, and Bruce Elliott goes in his place.
He's had a good ball game. Leonard Marshall's getting good penetration, is what the coaches like, upfield, inside. You break the bubble. Leonard Marshall has done that. Leonard Johnson.
Pass complete to Mitchell. Mitchell again with a couple of fine moves and very close to another first down. They'll rule that he touchdown at the 53-yard line.
You know, that's just like a long handoff. When you get the ball to Mitchell, he makes things happen on his own. Danny Barrett comes out, and he comes back to the opposite side. When he does get the ball to Mitchell, the flow is going away from him. I mean, he doesn't get much blocking, but he's making some good yards.
Second and a couple for the Stampeders. 6:03 remaining in the ball game. Calgary in front by 3. Tony Spolatini gets the first down, driving across the midfield stripe to the Toronto 53.
That's good, tough yardage, and that's what they've improved on. Calgary's had trouble running the football early in the year. Tony Spolatini has won the job over Andy McVeigh, and I think they like his blocking and they like his short yardage running.
First and 10, Calgary. Bland and Beals head out to the left. Crawford splits right. Good hole for Mitchell. Carl Brazeley is after him, and he manages to slow him down, but not before Mitchell gets down to the Toronto 27-yard line.
Well, that play is strictly a sprint draw, and what they're trying to do, they get Tony Spolatini to do the lead blocking on it. Here's Tony Spolatini. He gets the lead block. It's a sprint draw, and he just breaks it back to the other side. That really gives Calgary another dimension when they have a running back that can break those things out into the open. And watch the stiff arm. Nice straight arm by Eric Mitchell. Calgary's improving on their running attack.
In addition to the run by Mitchell, an objectionable conduct penalty against Don Wilson improves Calgary's field position. It takes the ball to the 17, first and 10, 4:47 the time remaining. Mitchell again loses the football. It's recovered by Toronto. Reggie Pleasant grabbed the football at the 5-yard line. That's the second time that Mitchell today has lost the football. That one came out of his arms almost as though it had been punched out. And Darryl Ford may have done that.
Yeah, Darryl Ford came over to the other side, and what he did, he hit that point. And when you hit the point of the ball, it accelerates. It pops the ball out. Watch him come in and just take the point of it right there, and it popped that ball right out into Reggie Pleasant's hands. Big turnover.
4:34 is the time remaining. Reggie Pleasant making the recovery after the hit by Darryl Ford. 1st and 10. The Argos at their own 5-yard line. Foggy in the end zone, dumps it off to Kevin Smelly. He gets the first down. Alondra Johnson takes him down. There's a penalty flag on the play as well. Well, the Argos get new life just when it appeared as though the Calgary Stampeders were ready to drive it in for what would have been a clinching touchdown. And there is also a face mask call against Calgary.
Major foul, face mask, Calgary, first down Trump.
Now, the big thing on this play was Ricky Foggy used his mobility. He scrambled a little bit, found Smelly open, and then got the ball to him. That's what made the play work. Alondra Johnson came in, took him by the headgear. That's not very smart.
Ball comes loose. Mark Singer hitting Kevin Smelly, but he had not made the reception. So it goes as an incomplete pass.
Adam Reed has got to be concerned. I saw Will Johnson come in. He tackled the faking back, J.P. Esquerdo, and then ran him into Ricky Foggy. So Will Johnson, in effect, tackled 2 people, forced a quick throw, and an incompletion.
3:49 is the time remaining. 3 points separating the Stampeders and the Argos. The Argos looking at 2nd and 10. The ball is at the 37. Over the middle for Darrell K. Smith.
John Candy is that's a happy owner, but if you want to have a big play, you got to go to your veterans in the big games, and that's what Darrell K. Smith provided for him. Foggy just threw a simple crossing pattern, and Darrell K. Smith did the rest. As he dumps the ball off, Darrell K. outruns Ken Watson, and then he turns it upfield. Got some blocking from his outside receivers.
Greg Peterson took Darrell K. Smith out of bounds, but not before he had moved to the 30-yard line of the Stampeders. First and 10, Foggy looking to run, then tried to dump it off to the Rocket. It will be 2nd and 10.
That's not Ricky Foggy. That's a guy that's injured, that tried to do one thing, and then he changed his mind and tried to do something else. Foggy, on a good day, would have been in the end zone on that play.
We saw Danny Barrett return to the lineup this afternoon. Matt Dunnigan was put back on the injured list until November 16th, a date that would make the pivot unavailable for the remainder of the regular season and the Eastern semifinal if Toronto doesn't clinch first place. However, this year, under a new rule in the CFL, it is possible that Dunnigan could be back for the final game of the season against Ottawa. Foggy's in big trouble. Gets the pass away. Masani makes the catch, but short of a first down.
Well, we said he didn't have his mobility, but I think that's some mobility by Ricky Foggy on that play, even though he didn't get the first down.
Lance Chomick with the field goal attempt that hits the upright, and Chomick can't believe that he missed it. Now the Argos did something different on that field goal attempt. Tom Porras came in to hold for Lance Chomick. Usually Paul Masadi holds. on field goal tries.
Yeah, and that had something to do with it. You know, you've got to be used to it. Tom Porce couldn't have taken more than, what, 30 holds during the week. That ball comes through, hits the upright, but you know it takes a good snap and it takes a good holder, and I know that Chomik isn't used to that holder.
Last week against Winnipeg, Chomik with a final play field goal could have won the game for the Argos against Winnipeg. He never got an opportunity to kick as the result of a bad snap. This kick against Calgary that could have tied the game hits the upright. Calgary takes over, leading by 3, 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line. Barrett is going to throw deep. His intended receiver, Alan Pitts, stumbled near the midfield stripe.
They were bumping around, and I think Wilson might have gotten some contact with him, but it didn't matter. Yeah, Chomik feels bad about it. I'll tell you who else feels bad. Ricky Foggy ran for his life and got that pass off. But even though he got him in field goal range, the new holder and the old kicker didn't team up.
A delay with an injured Calgary player. Bill Henry is down.
Well, they've had some trouble with Bill Henry. This is the second time he's been injured. But there's a guy on that team. There's an offensive lineman on that team, Lloyd Fairbanks. Today in this game breaks the record, or he actually comes in second to Ron Lancaster, 255 career games. But Bill Henry might be in there someday at 255 games. Looks like he's going to be okay. He's walking off the field under his own.
Lou Cafazzo comes in to replace Henry.
Lloyd Fairbanks, he's an institution in the CFL. I mean, 255 games. If a quarterback is the only guy that played more career games, I bet you Ron Lancaster would say Lloyd Fairbanks is one of those guys that's important to protect the quarterback.
He is also the oldest player in the CFL. 2nd and 10 from the 25. Incomplete, knocked down by Reggie Pleasant. It was intended for Carl Bland.
Well-delivered football. Carl Bland played it perfectly. He made the break when the ball was thrown. Reggie Pleasant made the break, and he knocked the ball down. Two good football players teaming up. The defender won. Reggie's made so many big plays.
He does an outstanding job on the corner for the Toronto Argonauts. And the Argos will get the ball back. And perhaps a chance for Lance Chomik to redeem himself. Good punt by McLaughlin. The Rocket on the return, spins away from a couple of tackles. He's going to score.
Well, you know, there's a horse called Secretariat, and he could run fast. I got the feeling all this game the Rocket was waiting to get the football in his hands. He never had the ball very often in this ball game, and when he got the football, he made the most of it. He went right up the middle. Hey, he didn't avoid anybody. Right up the middle. Then he put some moves on. Bam! He hit some people, and as he comes to the outside, Reggie Pleasant is the guy that makes this thing work, because look at Reggie Pleasant up here. He got McLaughlin out of the way, and the Rocket is gone all the way for the touchdown.
69 yards for the Rocket. And the fans are still buzzing at the Sky Dome as he puts the Argos in front 30-27 with 1:44 remaining. And that's why Bruce McNall invested the big dollars in the star from Notre Dame, his ability to return kicks, and it pays huge dividends late in the fourth quarter in this very key game against the Calgary Stampeders.
and he does it in big games. The Rockets' kick returns throughout his career have always come when his team needed it the most. And what a return, and what a situation. I mean, they needed some help. They weren't getting it done on offense, so the Rockets said, hey, kick it to me. I'll make something happen. And he's got all of those people in this stadium on their feet cheering the Rocket. He's worth every penny, they're saying.
Lance Chomik to add the point after. And this time Masadi is out there holding, and Chomik puts it through. 31-27. The Argos lead the Stampeders. 1:44 remaining in the ball game.
Well, now Adam Reed he's fired up now. He put Masadi back in. They got that placement. I wonder what happened on the field goal. We'll probably hear about it. Maybe Masadi on the reception was injured, and he couldn't go out and hold for the missed field goal, but nevertheless, it made this even more dramatic. Singer had a chance, can't catch him, and a great block here by Reggie Pleasant on McLaughlin. Calgary's punt coverage is not used to McLaughlin's kicks. They're used to Brent Matic. So he outkicked his coverage, actually, but when the Rocket got the ball, he went straight up the middle. He didn't try to avoid anybody, made some contact, and then got the touchdown.
The Rocket has the ability to accelerate while changing direction. He doesn't lose a bit of speed when he is shifting one way or the other. At least it doesn't appear that way. Mitchell waits for the ball at the 8-yard line. Mitchell runs into one of his own people. He hit Tony Spallettini, but he managed to get out to the 34-yard line, a 26-yard return with 1:37 remaining. Scott?
Don, one of the Argonaut owners is here to say this is the kind of excitement he had in mind when he bought into this team.
Exactly right.
How about the Rocket? A lot of power on that one.
Oh, wasn't that something? Sensational. Well, that just shows what he's worth, and that's his heart's in every play. I mean, even over here on the sidelines, he was going for an extra couple yards instead of stepping out. He went for another couple yards over here, and they're all playing well. Darrell Smith did a great job. Everybody's playing real well today.
John, I know you've been waiting all season long to see the Rocket return a kick for a touchdown, because that was his bread and butter in American college football. Boy, could he have done it at a better time.
Timing, I'll tell you, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, timing's everything, even in comedy and in football, right?
You're darn right. And it's working for us tonight. There's a great script we got going here. Let's keep it alive.
Somebody told me you were a tad cranky earlier in this game, but you're feeling pretty good now.
I'm feeling a lot better now. I remember the day in Calgary, so.
Okay, thanks a lot, John.
All right, take care. Thanks for coming out.
Of course, there was so much discussion about the hit that Wicklund put on the Rocket in the game that was played in Calgary on September 15th, won by the Stampeders 33-24. The Rocket may have gained his revenge this afternoon.
I think one of the things that John Candy said that's important is that the Rocket isn't just fast, he's tough. The Rocket will take contact. He'll go up and hit people, and he'll take extra yardage and not try to run it out of bounds. I think John Candy, he knows a little bit about football, doesn't he?
And immediately upon the conclusion of this game, we'll go to Woodbine for the running of the Rothmans Limited International. The favorite is Sky Classic. Bruce McNall, owner of the Toronto Argonauts, has an entry. Bo Sultan will be running under the Sumac stable colors. It comes up immediately following the football game from Woodbine. Thomas comes into the ball game. Graisley goes to the corner in place of the injured player. Darrell Ford intercepts. And that should do it. The ball deflected to Darrell Ford.
That ball bounced right out of Pitts. It hit his pads. And Darrell Ford came across the field to pluck it out of the air. And that looks like that spells the end of the Calgary's drive for a winning touchdown, because they don't have the football anymore. Darrell Ford had it.
It was deflected by Marcus Thomas, and Ford grabbed the ball.
Yeah, I never even got a piece of Pitts. Marcus Thomas bounced it out. Darrell Ford alertly took it around. It looks like an end sweep.
First and 10, Toronto. The ball is at the 33 of Calgary. 1:25 remaining. Handoff to Kevin Smelly. He picks up about 4 yards. It looked at halftime as though the Stampeders were going to put the celebration plans that the Argos had in mind for wrapping up first place in the East on hold. But now Adam Rita and his Argos may get to pop those champagne corks in the dressing room after all.
I think Calgary was a little upset. They saw the champagne going into the Toronto locker room before the ball game in anticipation that they'd wrap up first place tonight. That gave Calgary something to fight for, but the Rockets seem to have changed all of that.
On second down, Ricky Foggy trying to run for a first down. He'll be close. 58 seconds, the time remaining.
Well, he's telling them to use their timeout now. That was just a direct snap, and it's a counter play, but the ball carrier is the quarterback, Ricky Foggy.
Adam Rita wants to know how far they are away from a first down. Last team to beat the Argos at the Sky Dome, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and that was a year ago.
Adam's trying to get a measurement. He doesn't have any idea how far it is to go. It's over a yard. Mike Levenseller's telling him to go for it. Now they're sending in the big guys. So they'll get their short yardage. No, they're going to go for the field goal.
Winnipeg beat the Argos 21-16 on October 13th, 1990. The Argos have not lost in the Dome since then.
Now the difference between 4 points and 7 points is not very much. So it's an interesting call here to go for the field goal.
Masadi holding for Lance Chomick. The kick is good, but it only takes 3 seconds off the clock. It may have been a bit of a surprising call by the Argos had they opted to run the football and pick up a first down. They could have probably taken the final seconds off the clock. As it is, they lead by 7, but the Calgary Stampeders have an opportunity to score a touchdown. They are going to take the football at the 35-yard line, and the Stampeders, after the Rockets punt return, still needed a touchdown to win the football game. A touchdown now, and a conversion, of course, will tie it.
Yeah, I think trying to waste that clock is probably more important than letting them have the ball back. They got the ball back with a lot of speed.
55 seconds remaining. The clock will not start until the ball is snapped at the 35-yard line. Barrett dumping it off to Mitchell. Mitchell breaks the first tackle, stays on his feet. He keeps on going. He fights his way to the 36 of the Argos with 42 seconds remaining.
How many CFL games have we seen this year with seconds to go that the offensive team scores? That's why that was a surprise to go for that field goal. You're giving them an opportunity, and they've got so many weapons on that Calgary football team. I don't know how many opportunities you want to give them.
On the first down play, they swing it out to Spolatini. He stopped after a pickup of about 32 seconds remaining. There have been 15 overtime games in CFL history, 5 this season. Calgary involved in 2, winning both those games against the BC Lions. Second down, incomplete. 24 seconds remain. Sean Beals, the target of quarterback Danny Barrett. He underthrew him.
He had Sean Beals wide open between the zones, and that ball was underthrown.
3rd and 7. 24 seconds remaining. Again, the clock will not start until the ball is snapped. The Stampeders need a first down, and they should have it. Pitts makes the catch at the 24. They do have a first down with 19 seconds remaining.
Toronto's just playing a loose zone. Surprising. Pitts comes down. He settles in the zone. Barrett delivers the football.
He had to reach out for the ball in front of Darryl Ford. 1st and 10 from the 24. Swing pass to Mitchell. Mitchell struggles inside the 15-yard line with just 6 seconds remaining. Darrell Ford made the tackle. They spot the ball actually at the 15-yard line.
Oh, Mitchell, he really can run with that football, and he doesn't have blockers. He still makes yardage. He break through the linebackers.
This will be the final play of the ball game. The Stampeders have to put it in the end zone. Danny Barrett will try and run. He's stopped. And the game is over. The Argos win it. And they'll finish first in the East and have home field advantage for the Eastern Final on November 17th. 34-27. The Argos defeat the Calgary Stampeders. A rocket 69 punt return, 69-yard punt return, the difference in the ball game. Coming late in the football game. So the Argos will have home field advantage for that all-important Eastern Final on November the 17th.
At Skydome, the Rocket returns his first kick of the season for a touchdown to complete a Toronto comeback. Argos win 34-27 and clinch first place. Ragib Ismail is our Molson MVP. And stand by, everybody. The Rothmans Limited International is coming up from Woodbine in Toronto. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.